Yeah, it's
All
a
right,
clout
hey
special.
guys, welcome to the Video Store Cowboy channel. Welcome to 6 and 20, the Tuesday crew. Welcome. I think they've actually chosen a name, and welcome. I'm going to say welcome a fourth time. I am Johnny. I run the Video Store Cowboy channel. I'm also the GM for 6 and 20. I'm going to turn it over the table real quick to do introductions, but I want to make a couple of quick announcements. First off, making sure that everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Hello. Hello. Is that not working? Oh, it is working. Okay, sorry guys. I'm sorry. It's still, hashtag pro streamer guys. Real quickly. So last week, you guys a bunch of the audience surprised us with subscriptions to the channel. And so I wanted to just touch on that really quickly because it got me thinking, it got me working, it got me figuring out what I want to do next. So if you have a GameWisp account, there is a Twitch sub tier specifically associated with the channel for the GameWisp. So and Twitch subscribers. So if you are sub to the channel, go ahead and check the link in chat right now. It'll take you to GameWisp. It'll take you to the channel, and you can start to associate your account with your Twitch account, and then gain access to what essentially are starting off as just posts. Emotes will be coming, more will be coming soon. I'll be explaining all of that over there, but I just wanted to clue everybody in and let everybody know that that's available now if you are a Twitch subscriber to the channel. So again, thank you guys. We really appreciate the support. Love having the support in chat right now, and we're going to get started. So we're going to turn it around to the table and start with Harley, or Sam. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sam, or Harley. Yeah, I play a character named Fray, and she's a cutter. Okay.
All right, we'll move on to Volanda. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Volanda. I'm playing Eclipse, and she's a lurk.
Alrighty, we'll go over to Rhino.
Hi, I'm Mike Rhino. I have like 50 different names online. Mostly it's Rhino. I'm from UnMadeGaming. I do a lot of art stuff over there. I'm playing Mr. Wolf. He is a whisper, but also a murderer. Because we're not good people, guys. We're not.
Yeah. Hey, and I gotta ask you, what is up with your freaking changing your Twitter name every day?
That's my gimmick. That's the thing. Like one time I got drunk on Friday. That's why it changed to what it was Friday night. It's a little bit inappropriate, but yeah, I say random things, and then Mike's like, "You gotta change your Twitter name," and then I go and change it.
He's weird.
And not me, Mike. My roommate, Mike, who's also from UnMadeGaming. He runs that channel.
Yes, screw that guy. I don't know who the hell that guy is. Yeah. So, and lastly but not least, if you see him on screen now, that's because I finally was able to get his window captured. We're talking to Patrick. Patrick, who are you and who are you playing?
Hey there, my name's Patrick. I'm playing the Ancestor, Johnny's favorite character name.
Oh my god, I hate that name so much.
And I'm playing a slide.
And you're playing a slide. All right, guys. So before we get into this a little bit, I just want to make a quick announcement about the players at the table. Sam, turns out, has a scheduling conflict, is going to have to leave us a little bit early tonight. She's going to let us know as it happens, so we will let you know when she's about to leave, but otherwise we're going to enjoy her company right now. So, all that going on, where did we leave off last week? Mr. Wolf and Mr. Wolf and Eclipse stepped back into Crow's Foot, coming from the opera theater event with the man and wife and all the conflict that happened there. Coming back, Marden Gull thanked them for their effort, was a little surprised by the report of what he heard, and then asked them to take on a new task. As it turns out, Crow's Foot is currently under martial law, and Marden discovered that the reason behind the martial law was because the Imperial Army was actively looking for somebody or something inside of Crow's Foot. As it turns out, his information proved that it was actually somebody that they were looking for. And so he suggested that Mr. Wolf and Eclipse go and recruit Fray and her crazy brother and bring them into the fold to help them figure out what the situation is with this person that the Imperial Army is seeking. Between Fray and Eclipse, they were able to successfully track this individual down after they started exploring the circumstances around the bombing that occurred in a warehouse that took out the leadership of the Crows and the Lampblacks and took out a majority of the leadership of the Red Sashes. Having tracked them down, tracked this particular person down as that person was escaping across the roof, they discovered that this person was acting with a vigilante attitude and being a do-gooder. The Ancestor stepped out and tried to, corner this particular individual, thus causing a little bit of a shift in that person's goals, and subsequently tried to escape. Eventually, Eclipse was able to track, I believe it was Eclipse, or was it Fray? It was Eclipse that was able to track this particular person down as they made back to their base of operations at the end of the night. And as it turns out, the person pulled off their mask and revealed themselves to be a woman. And that's where we left off. So now we're kind of focusing back in on the scene of what Eclipse is seeing from... And where were you positioned specifically?
I think I was on top of a roof because I was... she was on the top of the roof, like, running away.
Right.
And I was following her basically through the disruption of all, like, the dirt and everything on the top of the roofs. So I would be up on a roof somewhere and I'd be looking down, not straight down, but sort of like down and across at where Batwoman has wandered into the drug den.
Okay. And so when you saw her, she was stepping into the doorway of what it looked to be some sort of like drug den establishment, and she removed her mask and kind of looked out back. She was being incredibly cautious, but she didn't see you as she did this, and then subsequently closed the door and goes inside. What do you do now?
I'm probably going to go back and find the others. Because without revealing myself, I probably can't get into this building. So, and also it's, if I remember rightly, it's in Crow territory, but it belongs to the Red Sashes.
That is correct.
God, my notes are rubbish, but I can't believe I read that. But yeah, it literally just says Red Crow. I'm like, what does that mean? So no, I'm probably gonna head back to the others. We hadn't established a meeting point, so she would just go to the fighting pit because the only place that all of them know.
I think that you guys actually, you had said that basically off camera that something had been established that you would meet. So wherever you guys end up deciding, I'll let you, the table, decide where that is. If it's the fighting pit, that's perfectly fine too.
Man, so part of me wants to... Mr. Wolf's been operating in the city as Mr. Wolf for about a year, or maybe two. No, I think about a year based on my backstory. He might have his own, like, small little thing that could become what the crew eventually takes over once we could become a legit crew. But that's up to you guys. We want to go with that, or
if that's his safe house, so to speak, would he really want to give that up to a bunch of strangers? Sorry, I like to play devil's advocate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's one of those things, like, regardless, he doesn't want to take you to where he lives. Like, he doesn't want to take you anywhere that he normally, like, we get associated with his day job and his normal personality. It's also, like, it's not that great, because obviously we're tier 0. He's a 0-person crew, or 1-person crew of nothing, so it's like, he's not really losing a whole lot. It's like just like a boat shack or something, I don't know. Can
you describe a little bit what that? I mean, so you're talking about the fact that there is there is the actual person, Mr. Wolf, right? There is.
Yes.
It's very much in the same vein as, you know, your daytime personality is very much the Bruce Wayne to your Batman in a lot of ways, right? Your real personality is the Batman, but your other personality is, you know, is Bruce Wayne, kind of a thing. So,
right,
or at least that's the impression that I'm getting from you, right? That the nighttime persona, Mr. Wolf, is the real person that you are.
It is now. So basically, because he's a whisperer and his vice is strange, I've moved it more to where that his alter ego is his primary ego now. So it's who he has become this past year or so.
Okay.
And it comes through, I don't want to reveal all of his secrets yet, but it comes through some occult entanglements that he has that he really had no choice but to accept. So Mr. Wolf is actually Brooklyn Marshall. He is a prominent war college professor type of person at Charter Hall. He, does presentations at the Imperial Academy, and his specialty area is spectrology, and specifically within that is hulls, which are like little animatronics that are powered by like souls or fragments of souls. So he tries to keep that persona up because it pays the bills. He also has a daughter, so he does that so that his family still has legitimacy and she's able to still continue going to school and shit like that. So he kind of does this because he has bad shit's going to happen if he doesn't do Mr. Wolf stuff, but he also has to save face with his Brooklyn Marshall stuff. And so that's why he'd be very protective of that part of his life.
Wow, we have so much more in common than I thought we would.
So with all that information and all of that context, what is this nighttime place? What is this place that Mr. Wolf uses as his haven, his safe house?
Sure.
Is that something that he would legitimately offer to the crew at this point, or to the group that he's currently working with?
So I'd say yes, because he's a professional. Worst case scenario, he burns the fucker to the ground and finds a new one. He establishes new grounds if he has to. So for him, he's like, because it's also like one of the furthest places, without getting into like the farms and shit, from his home in Charter Hall. He has kind of like V from Vendetta. He had that like underground tunnel that was classically decorated. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. I'm sure it's pretty shit because obviously we're nobodies right now. But it's an underground canal that's been abandoned. It's like off the beaten path of the other underground canals. It would be something like that, and it would have like maybe a small aesthetically a small workshop, not like an actual like layer workshop, but at least has something like that. It might not be super. Yeah, exactly. A workbench, perhaps a leather couch. I don't know.
Is it long enough to sleep on?
Yeah, if you're tired enough.
Perfect.
Okay.
So she needs a knife.
And it's in Silk Shore. Sorry, I meant to say it's in Silk Shore.
Okay. So again, given the context of everything that you've just shared, is it something where yes, you would invite them, or would you?
I would put it out there, like, guys, because it seems like we need to track this person down again. So where are we at right now? Are we at the point where she's still on her way back to us to let us know what she just saw?
So time and activity like that in Blades in the Dark is a little bit up in the air. It's a little bit, kind of vague.
There's flashbacks, right?
There are flashbacks.
Yeah.
It's all vague because the real meat of the story, the real meat of what we do when we play, is we do all of that as, we kind of want to do the details. We want the gritty stuff, the good stuff, and we just want to kind of wave our hand and kind of gloss away some of the stuff that is more mechanically like a challenge. Now that's always something that you're dealing with when you're coming from a background like D&D, where everything is very methodical and in a sequence kind of a thing. So it really is entirely up to the table where you guys are right now, because there is no action going on at the moment.
Yeah, he would offer it. Like if we're at a point where like we need to like regroup, rethink, how we're gonna complete this job. Then he'd offer it. If it's let's bust the fuck in and nab this person, then he's also okay with that, because he also does that kind of shit. So
yeah, I think it'd be a case of like
because it sounds like we got to get this guy soon.
Yeah,
especially
but obviously with you guys in tow, she wouldn't be able to catch up to them as quickly or as well. And I think it was a couple of hours before I managed to finally see them dump into this place. So yeah, for sure we'd need a hideout, and if you suggested it, she would get the exact location of where it is and then come back and tell you all what happened, because it would be a lot quicker returning than it would be following this question out.
Okay. So we're gonna cut to you guys meeting up again, and then why don't you guys set the scene? Somebody set the scene for that, and let's go ahead and jump into that.
Okay. So I'm sorry. So just to make sure, we're still in the streets and we're regrouping about what just happened. No, we didn't go to my hideout yet, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I would imagine it's Ancestor and I just kind of sitting there waiting, because I know Fray and Eclipse were up on the roofs. So I'm sure Ancestor and I kind of regroup. We kind of probably see each other on like walking on like parallel streets through an alleyway, and we kind of meet up. Maybe then we see Fray and Eclipse.
Yeah, I could be like
hop on
climbing
down.
down the building or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll scurry down behind you.
Sure. So what did you see? Where did he go?
A bit further across the rooftops. We need to follow him, but we need to be subtle about it.
Okay.
You guys aren't very subtle, so where do you want to meet?
We're not.
What, I can pamby around, I can give it straight. You're not subtle, so...
Well, we have two options. Either we scout more, or we break in, get our target, and get out. And he looks at Ancestors. I forget, is Ancestor like tall or like tall lanky, or
Like really tall and lanky.
Okay.
Etc.
Okay. So he then looks to Fray, obviously the fighter, the brute of us. Says, what do you think? Are you up for smashing?
The sooner we break in, the sooner we get this done, the sooner we get money.
Don't have no problem with that, but we want to make sure whatever we're breaking into, we ain't got no nasty surprises.
That's a...
Then how about
That's
this?
not my expertise. The planning. I like the fighting.
Oh,
That's
don't worry,
fair.
Fray. I'm sure
Everyone's
there'll be
got
plenty.
skills.
So Eclipse.
I'm not great with the fighting thing, so we make a perfect pair, really.
So, Ancestor, whatever your name is, what do you do? She obviously is a fighter. She's good at getting shit. I'm good at a lot of other things. Killing, weird things. You also seem weird. What's your forte?
I talk to people. You could say.
So do you think you could talk your way in and out of this place?
Without
Are you that good?
Without a doubt.
Then how about this? You do that. We wait a little while, perhaps tomorrow or tomorrow evening. You go in, find what you can. Eclipse, you're good at skulking around. You do the same. Fray, I'd suggest you get involved, but we don't want to break any bones just yet. I think reserve your energy for later.
That's true.
And then I have a place in Silkshore that we can meet up once we do what we do. Before
All
we
right. So we've
strike
got
again.
two ways of getting information. We've got two people do the killing. It's pretty good.
Basically. Nice even.
All right. And you say
And
you
he
got a place in
proceeds-
Silkshore.
Yeah, and then I'll give a vague description. It's somewhere in Silkshore, it's abandoned canal. Find the sign with a chicken on it. I don't know.
It's canon now, you said it.
It's the cockden, alright.
Yay.
God.
I'm so
I'm
confused
writing
and
that shit
concerned.
down.
I'm so concerned right now. Stop it, you guys. Okay, so that's your flashback to where you're going to meet, and now you're meeting up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So, I guess, yeah. I think that's where we're at, depending on what they get.
All right, I find my way to the place with the chicken sign, where, and I'll. It's just amazing.
Is it? Do you have a name for that chicken place? Can you? I mean, inquiring minds want to know.
I didn't think ahead. That just kind of flew out of her mouth.
It's your own fault. You've got to name it now. It's your place.
I don't know. I think the cock den is great.
I kind of like that too. I do have that written down.
I mean, it's in Silkshore, so it's got to be like perverted. 'Cause that's where all the hookers are. So
It's perfect.
Cock den
Cock gun it is. Yep. Also,
I'm gonna write that down.
I've written that in like bold and in parentheses. That's where our new place is.
Nice. Okay, guys. So we're gonna cut to you guys arriving back then, right? Okay.
Yes. What does this place look like?
So my den, it's gonna, of course, be dank because it's in the canals. There might even be like some like, because this is also like a huge vice den area. So I'm sure like along the way you find some junkies and shit. But then all of a sudden it just gets quiet. It probably gets to the point where like, it's probably creepy. Like there's probably like, you know, like every haunted movie or whatever, as campy as it is, there's probably like some ghostly sounds, if you will. And then Eventually, you'll see like I'll maybe have like certain marks that you can see that you eventually get to my little abandoned canal hole home thing. Inside, there's probably going to be like books, a map table, a workbench, like I said, probably like whetstones and things like that to help sharpen the knives, because he's a knife guy. But then he might even have... He's also a tinkerer, because he's a nerd. So he might also have some like little contraptions. I haven't decided what those are yet, but he's probably got those. Should probably open up Roll20.
Would you be...
Cool.
Sorry, jumping in for the question. Since your professional expertise involves holes, specifically in large scale combat, examples would being like the Unity War and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Would he be somebody who would experiment with holes? Especially
Yes,
since you're a whisperer.
he would.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Because that
Probably,
sounded
I totally
about
forgot
right.
to think about that kind of stuff. But yeah, he would probably maybe even have a hole or two in there.
Okay.
Or at least is starting to do so. Because like that's one of like the things in my head is like if I get a den, I saw some of the crew upgrades and one of them secure lair. That's probably how he would do secure stuff, is like have holes and spooky shit like that. If he had it his way.
Okay.
Nice. All right. In that case, I'll come in. I assume everyone's here. I think it's been a few hours. Is that right?
It would have you when you tracked her. You and Fray were tracking her all the way till what would be the equivalent of dawn or the first hour of the day.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Right. Well, I found her.
Her?
Yeah, it's a girl.
Figures.
Yeah, she took off this mask. Looks young, about 20 something. Not bad. But I found her by this drug den. Clearly belongs to Red Sashes, but weird thing is, it's in Crow territory. So.
Johnny. So I happen to know because I talked to the other crews a bit about some of the game stuff. Because
shame on you.
Know more. Just to know more about the world. Aren't like the Red Sashes like decimated right now? Like they're hurt.
The majority of them are decimated. Yes, they're down from being quite a large organization to being probably metagame wise the weakest. Okay, Mushu, with the weakest crew or faction in Crowsfoot right now. However, that being said, they're Aruvian swordsmen, so they are still quite skilled in their fighting ability, and so they are holding their own right now. The Red Sashes still own a number of drug dens throughout their, a lot of the sections, a lot of the buildings in Crowsfoot, so they've still got a pretty good hold. That they are definitely in a weakened state.
Okay. So my other follow-up to that would be like, does that sound uncommon for the territory lines to be gray like that, considering the power moves that the Crows are trying to do? Because I know they're without leadership due to this bombing, and I know the Red Sashes are, fucked up too. So does that sound weird to me, or does it sound like because all this shit is happening, like lines are just getting blurred and they're not straight anymore, and so it'd be commonplace right now?
What would be commonplace specifically?
Whether or not the Red Sash den is within another crew's territory.
Yes, absolutely. Because of the power vacuum right now, everybody is scrambling for as much control of territory as they can. Okay. So, given the circumstance, they are looking for as many. They're looking to bolster their resources as much as possible, bolster their relationships with different crews. So your assumption would be correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, it's not too weird, Eclipse, that the Red Sashes have a den within Crow territory. Considering the state of affairs in Crowsfoot, they take what they can get. And everybody's trying to get everything.
Yep.
Is this what kind of den did you think this was? Was this a drug den?
Drug den.
Drug den? Seems about right for Crowsfoot. At any rate, I mean, if this is a Red Sash den, might not be too hard to... It's going to be a fight. If we don't do this stealthily correctly, it's going to be a fight.
So, that's the last place I saw, and, doors shut on her, and I didn't exactly want to go in there on my own, so it seems like suicide. Kind of need a little bit of distraction or a bit of help.
So he'll look to Ancestor and say, "You're a talker, yeah? What makes you so good at it?"
Might have trouble getting in there though. Seems
You don't do
pretty-
disguises. You don't put on fake mustaches and put on a funny voice.
Just the one fake mustache.
Just like half a fake mustache.
Yeah, it's just half.
just
Yeah.
literally
Like,
the half the
turns
face.
sideways.
That's your alter ego.
You're like Two-Face.
No, that won't raise any suspicions whatsoever. I could definitely put a disguise on. Try to get in. Seems like might be a little too tense, but it's definitely worth a shot with enough backup.
Well,
We'll be right there.
yeah.
Your sister can handle them for you, I'm sure.
That's true, bro. I'm here.
She's always there to back me up. Should work out.
So, I mean, I'll be deaf from above, so I'll be somewhere. You're not going in alone, per se. Just, you are the face, so you might as well be the face, mate.
Johnny, I have tinkering tools. Can I use that to like make a bomb? A small one? It doesn't have to be a big one. Just like enough to like be a concussion, or like even a flashbang kind of thing.
So you can do that in creating...
I'm sure it takes time though, right?
Well, you might also be able to acquire one. It's
Also
what
true.
we would call... In a downtime action, it would definitely be acquiring an asset. As a part of a score, or the build-up to a score, there is a different step that you would take. But that's basically... It's essentially a very similar thing, right?
Okay.
So, for the expediency of the session for right now, we're just going to make it a fortune roll.
Okay.
For you to acquire some sort of an explosive. So before we do any type of fortune roll of any kind, let's talk about what kind of an explosive you're talking about and what your intent is.
Sure. It's more or less, I'd want that to be there for the Ancestor, so that if he walks in, shit goes south, he can drop it and either fuck them up, or it gives him a chance to like get out, or that's our signal. Hey, we saw this huge fucking flash. We're gonna bust in and start stabbing people in the face.
So basically, what you're looking for is some sort of like a flashbang, sort of a distraction kind.
Yeah,
of
exactly. Something to stun them and alert us that we
Okay.
need to rush in.
Okay. So when you go about actually going after this this distraction explosive of some kind, where would you go, or would you try to build it yourself?
So, personally, I know of a certain drug producer that might be able to connect me. However, that would require me to maybe leave Crowsfoot, or go through Silk Shore, through Crowsfoot into Charter Hall. Because I assume he's using the Academy, right? I'm talking about Speedy's character from the one shot,
Merrick.
Yeah.
Well, Merrick also, Merrick also works for the Red Sashes.
Oh, that's also true. He also has a book I want.
He has a book a lot of people want.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that as a crew. We want that book as a crew, I think.
We do.
It's a bargaining chip. It's basically a book about hulls anyway, so it's something Mr. Wolf is interested in, because Brooklyn Marshall is a nerd like that. But it's also
Nerd.
highly coveted, and people want it, so it's a bargaining chip. We could make power plays with it, potentially, make deals.
Excellent.
But at any rate,
If it involves stealing stuff, I'm there, so bring it up.
yeah, that might be our next job, or a downtime,
Sweet.
or something like that. So, I'm trying to think. I have contacts. Let me see what I've got. Contacts. I have a witch. And
You were more
a
than. I mean,
spirit
so
doctor.
Merrick could make a narrative. He could. That's probably something that he could do for you. But you're absolutely right. If you were to get in contact with him, that might actually lead down that path, and we can follow that path if you're interested.
Yeah.
I
I don't think we want to do that now.
Okay.
I think right now Mr. Wolf doesn't want to get to that yet. He doesn't want to ruin those chances, but this is also with Red Sashes.
Right.
Maybe he's already here. That'd be great. That's not the way it's going to be, though.
There's always that opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I have tinkering tools. I'd like to think I'm a smart guy. Maybe I try to make it myself. Unless one of these guys, I'll even bring it up to these guys about if they might have contacts, because I know they have some. We found Fray and Ancestor in Crowsfoot, which is like that's the Mos Eisley of this city, it seems like.
In a lot of ways, Crow's Foot is a den of scum and villainy. Let's be very clear about that. I mean, it is the center district, pretty much for all low-level crime, unless you want to talk about the docks. But the docks are a different set of circumstances.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot more smuggling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you guys could just like make up a reason why, like, oh yeah, no, I have this one backstory character.
So I mean, you can really, because we're getting hung up on trying to figure this out. So why don't we just say that you're going to tinker this? That you've got enough experience that you're just going to tinker this. So, we have not done fortune rolls, or I don't think we did a fortune roll last session. I don't remember. My notes don't indicate as such. So let's talk about let's talk about how a fortune roll works. So the way it gets determined is that your dice pool gets determined is, or actually, let me take a step back and explain what a fortune roll is. A fortune roll is when anything can be possibly up in the air, as whether the outcome is uncertain, or I don't want to take responsibility for an uncertain, for a roll, or for making a decision. I want to leave it to fate. We'll use a fortune roll, and a fortune roll gets, basically says, does it happen? Does it not happen? Are there consequences? Now, to build the pool for a fortune roll, you start out with 1d6 for sheer luck in the circumstance, and then you build a positive and negative list of items to add and remove dice to the dice pool. So we'll do this just together as a table. Everybody can have an input into this roll that Mr. Wolf is going to take. So again, we're starting off with 1 die for sheer luck. We're going to go with an additional die because of Mr. Wolf's skills. Can anybody else think of another positive reason why Mr. Wolf should get another die?
I don't know if this is applicable. Ectoplasm vials. I don't know if ectoplasm, I have some of the materials on hand. I don't know.
So are you building it from from spectral energy of some kind? You're building an ectoplasmic bomb of some kind?
I'd say. I would assume. I don't know. I would assume.
Okay. Okay, so that adds an additional die. Is there anything else? So that's 3 die so far. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that adds to that die? No Mushu, you cannot add Meowth to a dice pool.
I think he disagrees.
So to play devil's advocate, I doubt I've ever made an explosive before.
Okay.
So I think I might have some it's one thing to know how a combustion engine works. It's one thing to fix it, kind of thing, or to build it. You know what I mean? So I feel the same way about explosives. It's one thing to know what causes the explosion. It's one thing to truly do that and do it in a controlled and safe environment.
Yeah, theory versus practice.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's I'm okay with taking a hit on that one.
Okay, so you're going to take a negative because you've never done it before. I'm going to humor Louise in chat and say you're going to get 1d6 for sheer love, because that's one of Louise's favorite arguments. So you're still going to get
love.
Love has everything to do with it. Love and goats.
Yep.
Okay, so 3d6. Can anybody think any other positives and negatives that go into this?
Do you have the materials for this? Do you have enough materials for this?
Most likely. I would assume. If not, I would just assume, because I have tools. I have ectoplasm already, electroplasm, I should say. Mm-hmm. So I'm already into tinkering, so I'd just assume that I have that kind of stuff. And plus, it's canals. It might just be a pipe bomb. I just go take a pipe, and that's the encasing.
I have a question, DM-related question. So on our character sheet, we have items. We have grey items. We have white items. Is white items just stuff that we have?
Absolutely.
Okay, I also have tinkering tools and demo tools. Would either of those be useful in this situation?
Oh, you already have demo tools?
Yeah,
apparently so.
Too.
Yeah,
I've got 2 boxes next to demo tools. I don't know if I have them. They're just filled with white. I don't really know. So I assume that I at least know them.
Right. So typically, I was having a conversation with Sam about this over the weekend. Everything that's on your list of items, you all have. It is a narrative kind of hand wave kind of a thing that you are already a skilled player. A skilled character. You have assembled the tools that you would need. It's really only about the tools that you would bring with you in a particular circumstance as they relate to a score. So since we're still in what's called the free play phase, and he's building he's essentially building an element to carry into the score, you would definitely be able to use those tools and offer him an assist. Now, to offer him an assist, though, you would take 2 stress hit, and then he would get an additional die to the roll.
Sure, I'll give him if I have demolition tools, I'd at least know how to build these things and how to effectively use them. So I'm going to give him help and advice, and if you need to be hold a lamp over his head, that kind of jazz. So I'll literally help him in any way I can.
Oh, right,
I'll take
totally.
the 2 stress.
I mean, as a lurk, but also I imagine that disappearing and getting into places and kind of distraction is your cup of tea. So
yeah, I think she'd be more smoke bombs, but flash, yes, go for it.
Sure. Okay, so you're going to take 2 stress.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
And that's 4d6 to your dice pool right now, Mr. Wolf.
Okay. Cool.
I think that's a pretty good pool so far. So why don't you go ahead and click on the fortune roll or the fortune button.
Yep.
And switch over to and do it 4d6.
Yep.
Or you're going to take 4 dice.
Yep.
And get started. Wow. Okay. 5s. So.
Good.
Nice.
That is a success with a little bit of a consequence. So you I'll describe to you the result of your the consequence result. But can you describe to me just briefly what it's like when you're building that tool? What is that? What does the process look like? Or that bomb? What is the process? What is the outcome? What is its like?
Right.
What is its container?
So the first thing is the container. You got to figure out what it's going to look like. It's got to look a little bit inconspicuous. So he's going to try to use, perhaps he has I have a lantern. So maybe it's glass. He uses the glass of that lantern, and makes it that way, and uses that as an encasing, or maybe a small, flame casing.
Okay.
Puts in, and it's also that's what he also has vials, so he also knows that that's what's going to help store the ectoplasm or electroplasm, I should say. And then you see him mix in whatever other chemicals he needs, and I'm sure Eclipse puts in her expertise on if you add this much of this, it creates a flash. If you put too much of this, it creates smoke. That kind of stuff. I would assume that's what it looks like. So it's definitely a montage of us two pouring over this, and whether or not Fray and Ancestor get involved, that's up to them.
Okay.
And I think the consequence is erectile dysfunction. Sorry, Ancestor. I think that's... You're welcome.
No.
He's considering it.
No. I'm sorry. No.
In these cases, are we allowed to chime in for possible consequences and such?
Oh, so yeah, this is the perfect opportunity to illustrate the fact that at the table, narratively, you guys really help build the story in that way. So if you've got an idea for a consequence, speak up, please.
So since I'll be carrying the thing and I'll have to possibly drop it at a moment's notice, probably putting myself in harm's way a little bit, but maybe with the slightly more scavenged materials. The goals for a concussion or a flash or something, maybe with more janky materials, it would create shrapnel. It might tear me up a little bit when we use it as a slight consequence.
Okay, so that sounds pretty awesome, actually. The consequence I was going to suggest was that you get caught in the blast, and that there will be a temporary effect. But the shrapnel works too, and so what I would say is. If you decide to use it in any circumstance, you're going to have to make some sort of roll to resist. You're going to have to make a roll to resist or you're going to have to make a roll to see if you're smooth enough in getting away. There's not a 1-to-1 in respect to dexterity. Resistance usually means damage is about to happen to you, and you're going to resist the circumstance, and take, there's a trade-off, but when you resist, it's essentially you take stress you take the amount of stress minus whatever, the highest dice pool roll it is that you do when you resist something. But in this particular case, I'm going to suggest that instead what you're going to do is you're going to make some sort of roll to avoid. And if you don't avoid it, then you'll take some sort of, harm of some kind, and then you'll be given an opportunity to resist it.
Okay.
And I agree with Diva in chat. Mushu cat hair is the shrapnel.
It would be pretty dangerous.
So
especially if you're allergic to cats.
God, that would be terrible. So great suggestion on that. Great roll on that one, Rhino. So what else do you want to do in preparation of walking into this circumstance or walking into this particular situation?
So that's kind of where I was hoping we could use Eclipse before we go there. So maybe there's like one part where I don't really need her for the actual tinkering, because I'm assuming it's going to take a couple hours. Maybe she can go and scout out the place, check for entrances, exits, patrols. Okay. Are there people, actively protecting this place, or is it just a vice den?
Okay, that sounds like a another example of information gathering in the free play element of the game. So how would you go about doing that, Eclipse?
Well, I know where it is, and I assume it's like daylight time now. So walking around under martial law, like walking around during daylight phase, would that be a problem? Would I get pulled over for that?
So typically, what's been experienced, just you would know from the way that martial law has sort of just played out among the city. Whenever the hour 1 through 12 would be considered like the work phase or the daytime phase, even though it's perpetual night. That's the time when commerce would be going on and lots of trades and crafts, and there would be lots of things. There would be lots of activity. Crowsfoot has been very specifically on lockdown, so even when there's commerce happening and merchants are moving around or deliveries are being made, right, there is still a level of there's an element of quiet and just everything feels more subdued or sedated because there's not as much teeming life, right? The constant patrols from the Imperial Army squads and the blue coats that are wandering Crowsfoot right now are really, it feels almost like an oppressive set of circumstances, and you don't want to get caught in the street unless you absolutely had to. It's not necessarily a papers please kind of a moment, but it's pretty close.
All right, that pretty much answers how she's going to do this then. She will pretty much take back to the roofs again, because she can hide more effectively by laying flat on the roof than she could like skulking around on the grounds. And also, if someone talks to her, she's not great at dealing with those kind of things and lying her way around. So yeah, I think she'd probably take to the roof again and just take her time to scout around this building, see how many floors are in this building, how many windows, are the windows accessible, is there a roof space, if there is a roof space, is there a crawl space you could get into, exits, entrances, on whether it's on 2 sides of the building, 3 sides are exposed, whether it's just a building standing on its own or if it's like a terrace, that kind of thing. So she would go around and get literally the lay of the land around it, but if there is a way for her to climb into an upper floor or into the crawl space under the roof, then she'd probably attempt to do that, but only if it looked like she could get away with it.
Okay, so why don't you give me an action roll based on one of your action ability or your action ratings, and that will give you that will give us a better understanding of how successful you are at doing that. And that really counts as like an information gathering kind of a thing. And given the circumstance, this is really a controlled situation. So what action are you going to take in this particular?
I think probably prowl, because she's not hunting anyone anymore.
Okay.
She is trying to be sneaky. She's trying to be under the radar. That's why I'd probably argue prowl over the hunt. Okay.
All right, so definitely a controlled situation because you're not under any pressure. There's not any risk going on for right now. I mean, there's always an element of risk when you're surveying someplace that you're going to be seen or whatever. But in this particular case, given how little traffic is actually on the streets, even during the essentially between hour 1 and 12, a controlled situation makes sense. Effect. I think that it's going to be standard bordering on great. The reason I think it's going to be standard is because, given the circumstance, you would know the typical way that, because it's part of your skill set and part of what you do for a living, you would know typically, if we're looking from the outside, getting a general sense of what entrances are, what available entrances are into a building, and how you've cased buildings in the past. You would understand that there's what the general layout of that particular building is potentially. Great would be just being able to discover, you had so much experience, you would discover, potentially, unused, like a crawl space or something, or, a half-finished chimney that might, you might be able to gain access through, that kind of a thing. So I'm going to leave it up to you to tell me what you think the effect might be, because given that in a negative situation, if you fail, the consequence could be more significant because of that.
Yeah. I think probably standard. I mean, like from looking at positions of windows and how close they are together, and by peering through some of those windows, you can kind of get a general idea of whether it's a 2 up, 2 down sort of building, and figure those kind of general spaces out. I don't think the answer would be great unless she was actually walking around inside the building, which, even if she got into a crawl space, would literally just be under the top of the roof. So you'd be able to see, you'd be able to see from light coming up where the walls are within this building. You can see where the chimney is within the crawl space. Okay. But unless she could definitely get in there and do that, I don't think it would be great at all. I think she'd just get a standard out of that.
Okay, sounds good. And do you want to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
I don't think I should push myself because my stress is really high.
Ooh, what is your stress at right now?
6.
Okay. That's I didn't realize it was that high, but that's good to know. Okay.
Because I think before I had 4 stress, and it was, I could roll for it, but I probably wouldn't gain anything out of it. I'd overindulge or whatever it was, so I didn't. But she's definitely going to deal with that later.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, no. Got a 6.
Oh, wow. A 6. Okay, fantastic. So, you begin to case the joint, and you realize that it's a converted storefront, a mercantile or, wholesale goods storefront that has been converted into a drug den. So you know that there is a reasonably, small showroom kind of a thing and a larger sort of warehouse area in the backside of the where the dried goods would be. You also know that there would probably be a basement specifically for more goods or wholesale kind of a thing. Cargo containers, what have you, and there might be canal access from below ground. And so when you start checking, you actually do discover that in a roundabout way, you are able to gain access to the basement level through a doorway that's inlaid into the wall, and there is a small dock sitting next to that particular establishment, essentially in the caverns under the canal. One other element that kind of sticks out and kind of surprises you is that there are a number of windows that actually line this establishment in the front, but they've all been blacked out, such to make it incredibly dark in there. And the door with which the woman went into, you suspect is where the warehouse side of this would be, had it been a wholesale goods kind of a place.
Cool.
Now, with that information in mind, does anybody want to do anything else in preparation, or do you guys want to start the actual score?
So, what information do you purvey? Do we have the number of exits, entrances? Do we even know what kind of drug they're selling there? Were you able to discern that information?
Was I?
Okay.
So no, that information. So she was just specifically casing the joint, essentially looking at the establishment, and what she discovered was actually pretty incredibly broad. Oh, I should say one other thing. It's a 2-story building. You know that there's only essentially one floor on top, right? That the ceilings are not vaulted, but they're incredibly high ceilings.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, so you could basically stack loads of giant things within the warehouse area.
Yes.
All right.
So
okay,
it would essentially be the equivalent of 2 stories, but or 20 feet or 25 feet, but or however that meters that is, but it would just all be on one floor. There would be just a single floor kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna assume that the Red Sashes have a uniform of some kind or an identifying.
So that's actually that's something that was actually established back in season 1 for the Shroud and Phantom, as I'm blanking on the Phantom right now. So the way that it works for the Red Sashes is instead of having a normal uniform, they're all Eruvian swordsmen essentially. They're trained in Eruvian swords play. They're both men and women. They don't wear a standard uniform because it's not really like a standing army of some kind. There's already an Eruvian army, and there's a consulate, and there are soldiers in that. What they do when they wear items is it's something that looks like it's not necessarily just a sash, but it's some sort of decoration made of cloth that decorates either their sword or the outfit that they're wearing. Maybe they're wearing a scarf, or some sort of handkerchief, or an ascot kind of a thing, or maybe it's something tied around their leg or their arm. But it's always a piece of cloth, and it always represents, essentially, I think, if I remember correctly, at least something that alludes to the Eruvian origin or heritage of the sword fighting style. So for some of them, it will be on their sword, right? It'll be red tassels that look like little pieces of cloth on the sword, kind of a thing. So.
So could I use my Find Disguise kit to make something ahead of time? Because I assume that's not something I can do very on the spot.
That depends, right? Because of what you would know. Oh, okay. Let me take a step back and ask you a question about the Ancestor, and this actually applies to Fray as well. What experience would you guys have had, if any, with the Red Sashes? Fray is a fighter. You're sort of a people person, kind of a manipulator. What kind of experience? Would you have a lot of experience? Would both of you have a lot of experience with the Red Sashes? Because if you would, then you would know the way that the affectation works, that it's some sort of decoration that they wear, some sort of element of their outfit, and not a red sash that they tie around their right.
I would say Fray would probably have had more interactions than I would.
Yeah, but we both grew up on the street, so.
Yeah, we definitely would have had some interactions at some point. I don't know if it would have been enough, though, to really have a good idea of their background.
I mean, maybe I've fought one of them before, but it's not like I ever went after them.
Okay.
So maybe sorry.
No, go ahead.
Maybe instead what we could try to do is just, since Fray and I aren't really contributing to the tinkering project, we could go in and try to find, locate, and mug a Red Sash. Steal some part of his uniform that we could use.
Okay. So instead of creating some sort of decoration or figuring out some way to do that, you want to actually mug a Red Sash. Is that what I'm hearing?
Sounds like a better idea to everyone, making it or trying to steal? Because my concerns are maybe it's since they do have maybe it's a little too meta, but since they do have a specific identifying mark, they might be recognized if we were to try to steal one.
If it's easily repeatable, it depends if you guys would have the skills to make it. If you kind of don't have like the ability to go grab a bit of cloth which looks similar, then go mugging. But if you have the ability to, probably be much safer.
Yeah, I'd be
I would
safer.
Think would a Find Disguise kit make up for that, or would I need?
Well, so a Find Disguise Kit, if I remember the description correctly, it basically provides you with and I'm using the word, I'm not sure metaphorically is the right way to describe it, but it provides you with the tools to be able to create the types of costumes or disguises that you would need to put yourself in most circumstances.
Yeah. So would I then roll like a tinker check on top of that, or?
Typically we haven't asked anybody to roll a check of some kind to do it. We just assume that, you know, it's a lot of hand waving and narrative description. So all I'd ask you is you just, you know, tell me what you would do to do that. You know, it could be you mug, you know, you mug a Red Sash. That could introduce some conflict, and you might have to get into a fight with that particular person, or Fray steps up or whatever. Or it could be you just observe that somebody likes to tie a particular Red Sash around their sword, you know, or a red piece of cloth around their sword. Or, you know, it's an armband. It's whatever it is. It's just something distinctive in that particular color that they would, you know, that another Red Sash would recognize as. So.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to make something versus try to mug someone.
Okay.
One sounds a little safer than the other.
Yeah, sounds way safer.
Okay, so we're just gonna hand wave and say with your disguise kit you're able to kind of make something. Now, what is it that you make that implies that you're a Red Sash?
Let's see. I don't really have any open exposed weapons like a sword or anything, so I would say maybe something more like an ascot style.
Okay. All right, cool. So you now have something that kind of gives you some sort of indicator or just some sort of element that you're a Red Sash.
Okay.
You've got the bomb. You've got the lay of the land. You've got something that should be familiar and build a relationship a little bit there. You know, or build a connection. You know, a disguise of some kind. Is there anything else that you guys want to do?
I can't think of anything else. We've scouted. We've kitted up our dude, and we know how we're going to get in.
Okay, so let me ask this very specific question, this very leading question before we get started. What exactly is your intent with the score? What are you guys trying to accomplish?
So from this, it depends, I guess, right? So if Ancestor can talk his way through and gather more information, then it's basically comes out, I guess, tells us and I guess we'll do that now. We should also formulate our two plans. Either we bust in and do some shit, or if we need to do more information, then we go, or he's not there, then we move on and figure out where that person went, that vigilante.
So ultimately what you're trying to do is capture this particular individual, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the ultimate goal. Yep.
Okay. Right on. Okay, so with all of that in mind, now we get to the engagement roll. Engagement rolls are just like fortune rolls, except that they're very specifically about the pros and cons of the score that you're about to go into. And what engagement rolls do is they determine the starting situation. You've done a little bit of planning in beforehand, but thank you, Mushu. We imagine that there's a whole bunch of more planning that goes on and a lot more detail that goes into it. And so we're going to do some hand waving around that and start you right in the middle of the action. The engagement roll will determine the how good of a starting point you are when you're in the middle of the action. Mushu, stop it. So, again, it starts with one die for sheer luck. I'm going to throw in an additional die as a positive because of the success of Eclipse's casing the joint, basically, you know, kind of checking things out. I'm going to throw in another die specifically because of the preparation that went in with the bomb and the Red Sash disguise. Is there anything else that needs to go into this? Anything positive?
So just to make sure I understand, like we kind of are in the middle of the action. This then determines how well the pre-stuff went. So would Ancestor being a good talker go into that at all, or his
No,
disguise?
So that already got selected in, right? So that, so the second one
that was part of the.
That was part of the third one, right? The third die that you got, right? So this is on elements that are in addition to all of that.
Didn't you say, Fray, that your vice was drugs?
Drugs, alcohol, and fighting.
So, being that you are particularly close to your sister, you probably know a bit about drug dens, so you could probably have more experience having gone into drug dens before, so this may be a bit easier for you to do than for me who doesn't do drugs.
Yeah. Would that be worth another?
Absolutely. Anything else that you guys can think of that would play out as a positive?
Man.
No, that was my scraping, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, can you think of any negatives that affect you in this particular situation?
Ancestor's ugly.
Well,
He is off-putting. He literally said he's off-putting.
I'm off-putting, yes.
He is off-putting.
I wouldn't go so far as to call a brother ugly, man.
Well, I guess he could look like
to
a
be fair, we're
druggie. He's
walking
very
into a trade-
thin
Well, that's
and
also
tall.
true. He
We're
could
walking
also
into a
fit.
drug den.
Yeah, he might look like a
I
druggie.
doubt everyone is fine nobility in this place.
This is crow's foot, good sir.
Oh, so we've gone...
This is crow's foot, so yes. That I don't think that that's going to have a factor.
Can
in
we
it,
can we make that a pro then?
So we went from a negative into a positive.
All
He
right.
looks
the part.
off-putting like he takes drugs.
He looks
Okay.
like a druggie.
All right. So we're going to call that 5, and then because I'm going to humor Louise again, we're going to
love.
call chat being so positive a 6.
Oh, man.
Okay. Now, can anybody think of any negatives? Real negatives.
So real negatives.
You're not actually a red sash.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
We're illegitimate.
He's very awkward.
We don't exactly know what we're getting into. I don't know, but I don't know if that goes into that. That's kind of like a consequence of just entering the place in general.
That is a consequence. You don't know the circumstances which you're entering. That could be one. I was going to suggest that we factor in the fact that you are essentially a group of nobodies going up against an established crew. That crew may not be at their best right now, and be on the ropes, but you're still going up against an organized crew, or what you think is an organized crew. So I'm going to call that the combination of what you said, Rhino, and that 1. So that's going to take you down into 5, guys. Is there anything else that you can think of that might play into that as well? Chat, you're welcome to step up too and let me know if you think of anything in particular.
I also it's one of those things I think we're also not jumping into the lion's den. I think we're kind of.
And we are just walking into what could just be your standard drug den, so.
Exactly. It could wind up we're into the wrong place. That's
Also,
why I'm having issues
may
coming
not
up
be
with
there.
other comms,
Well,
yeah.
so I don't think that actually factors in this particular case, and the reason I say that is because Eclipse did track this particular individual that you're seeking to that location, so you know that this is a good starting point, even if the person is not there. Right. So I think that that's a positive factor in your favor. Right. So I don't think it necessarily applies here.
Right, I was just saying, as far as coming up with more cons,
We're scraping, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I probably would have told him exactly what this woman looked like, so he doesn't just wander in there who am I looking for?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a woman. Helpful. No, I probably would have explained in quite detail what she looked like. So.
Okay, Slade brings up a good point in chat, and I will go ahead and call that a negative. Or I'll call this a negative. You don't know the actual security of this place inside. You guys actually have no clue what you're walking to once you get into the door.
Well, right, that's what I was saying earlier. We don't know what's actually on the inside of this place.
Right.
So
okay.
So I could definitely take that as a negative.
That is definitely a negative. So we're going to call that 46 at this point. Is there anything else that you guys can think of, positive or negative?
Nothing's coming to mind.
Okay. Awesome. Slade, there are clips. You can use the quote on the bot if you want to quote that, but that's not going to be quote number 1, I guarantee you. All right. So, given the circumstance, and because the Ancestor is the one walking in the door, I'm going to have him go ahead and roll that. So, Patrick, on your character sheet, there is a button on the left-hand side, or sorry, the right-hand side below Friends and Rivals that says Roll Fortune. So fortune rolls are exactly the same as engagement rolls. You're going to drop in 4 for 4d6. And then from there, we're going to call it, there's no notes, and you're just going to roll it.
Ooh.
Okay, so a 4. That's still a positive. There's some level of consequence. Yes, but you can... you still get yourself successfully in the door. So let me ask you this one question to set up how the scene is going to play out for you guys initially. When you approach the building, Ancestor, how do you approach it?
Let's see. So it's sort of just like that high ceiling, tallish building. Is it directly off an alleyway or directly off the road, or does it have a?
It's off a main way. It's off a main throughway, or essentially a main street. You can approach it from the front. You can approach it from the back. It's your choice. You do know that the drug den probably operates from both doors. And you do know that based on Eclipse's information, the person that you're seeking went through the back door.
I would say I'm going to try to go through the back door in that case. Would probably put me closer to the right crowd to get the information from.
Okay. Great. So when you approach the front door, you again see the windows are blacked out, right? That they're completely painted over in black. When you approach, you knock on the door, and there's not an answer for a second, but the door creeps open, and you see a little bit of a dim light, kind of lighting the room, and you see a hand waving you in.
Not to cut you off, but didn't I say back door?
I'm sorry, you said back door. I apologize.
Yeah, just making sure.
Yeah. Okay. So when you approach the back door, different setup. You see a slot open in the back door as you kind of look, as you're just standing there, and they look you over, and all you see is they're lit from the back, and you don't see any features of their face, but you see a head sort of looking you up and down as the door, as the thing slides closed again, and the door opens for you, and you see a hand waving you inside. And when you walk in, you see that there is a large room covered in various types of couches and sofas and pillows all around, and there is a haze of smoke of some kind, of some element of drug use, just kind of wafering all throughout the area. It's very dimly lit. It's lit with candles and lamps that use sort of oil. There's no electric light in here using spectral energy, the ectoplasmic lighting. And when you walk in and the door closes behind you, the person behind you taps you on the shoulder and points you in the direction of somebody sitting off to the side who appears to be counting coin and moving papers around on the table. When you look around the room, you'll notice that a number of the couches are unoccupied, that the den is not as busy as it could be. And that is a circumstance which if you visit any establishment in Crowsfoot, that tends to be the case given given martial law and how locked down the streets are, right? I have one other question for you, and this is really a question for the crew in respect to setting this score up. What time of day do you guys go? Do you go between hour and 12, which is essentially the work day, or do you go in the after hours or the evening time?
So, assuming they're like us, a vigilante will work during times of crime, if you will. So during the even darker hours, the after 1 through 12.
Okay.
I would assume. Everybody else can weigh in, but I would assume.
That's what I was thinking.
So,
Yeah.
Are we just sort of playing our goal by ear, or am I specifically in here to get information?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. I think we
because
basically had like 3 plans, like going to scout for information, because it kind of depends on if the person is there. If they're not there, then it's scouting for information. If they are there, it's scout more information, see if we can grab them subtly, and if subtle doesn't work out, we knock them over the head and run with them. So
Yep.
I think they were basically the 3 plans that could have played out from this. So it's a case of playing it by ear. If she's here, excellent. If not,
I would
we'll
say
keep
closer
looking.
to the night.
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
my
for sure.
preference Then, just on the offhand chance she is there.
Okay, so one thing I will say about the world of Blaze in the Dark and Duskfall in general, the idea of a vigilante is incredibly rare, right? They do exist, but they're more mythical than something that somebody would see on a basis. The first one that has been witnessed in an incredibly long time was one that was running around in a very similar garb and getup, who was eventually seen going into the same building that exploded in Crow's Foot. Yeah, the Bower Bomb, right. And so when the Bower Bomb disappeared, people thought that because that was at the explosion, that would happen. So again, very rare circumstance, very rare occurrence. So you can't necessarily make assumptions about when it would be operating or what it'd be doing, because there really isn't. There might be stories that play out like a Batman kind of a scenario or a vigilante kind of a scenario, the anti-hero. They might be pop culture, a pop song, or not pop, folk songs. You would know the legend of Jinx Godeffer, the legendary Skovlander who defied the Imperial army and subsequently disappeared. But right, those are the examples that you would have at most. So. All right.
I think we're basing our timing off of when we saw them. This person was operating during, the shady.
Yeah, and we want to be there just before that, so that they'll still be there.
Okay.
So because I keep forgetting that I'm a whisper, and I can do this. Would Wolf be able to? Because I'm still kind of learning what you can discern when entering the ghost field. Will he be able to sense anything going into the ghost field attuning while looking at this building once they're there?
Oh, sure, absolutely. There are many things that you would be able to see in this particular circumstance. So, would that count as something that you would have done prior to him walking into the building, though?
I would say yes. Saying that we know that we're approaching, I'd say, let me check it out real quick, I guess.
Okay, so this is the kind of thing where the flashback mechanic works really well. When you're in the middle of a score, the Ancestor has stepped into the building. He's moving off to the side to go talk to the individual that he's being pointed to. The person that directed him is essentially the doorman of some kind. And so as he's walking up, we'll do a narrative, like a hand wave, Wayne's World kind of kind of a thing, and flashback to Mr. Wolf standing very close but outside of the building. And kind of looking into this. So this is looking in using the ghost field. Now, depending upon the difficulty of a flashback or the circumstance that you're trying to set up, they can be 0 to 2 stress. In this particular case, because you haven't really walked into there yet, and you're kind of getting more information and gathering, I'm going to call this a 0 stress flashback.
Okay.
But you are going to have to roll for your you're going to have to roll to determine how well you attune to the ghost field when this happens. So.
Okay. So you want me to roll now?
Sure.
Okay.
So in this particular case, the situation is still controlled. The benefit, the effect. I'm going to leave that up to the table. What does everybody think really applies here? It doesn't seem limited to me, but standard also doesn't. It almost seems standard. It seems too great in some cases. What does the table?
I was gonna say I don't think it's going to be too much more than limited, personally.
Okay.
Because what do you really get? Okay, they have some ghost people here. I mean, so does the whole damn town. So it just depends on how. I feel like it's detail enough that it could be beneficial, or at least lets us know what we're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe standard. I don't know. Definitely nothing more than standard in my opinion.
I'd personally say limited. I don't see anything really.
Yeah, I don't think it really changes things. We're still going to operate the way we're going to operate. So
yeah,
okay.
We just gain a little bit more information, unless they have 40 people in there with
Right,
or
unless like
wielding
this whole
massive
building
great
turns out to
bombs.
be one big ghost. You know,
Yeah,
I think we're just
exactly.
still-
It's, regardless of how many people are in there, let's say, unless there's like 40 people crammed in there all about to, do our nuts in with giant weapons, we're probably not really going to change our game plan that much, depending on the information we get, I guess.
Well, even then, I'm not. I'd only see extra spirits. I wouldn't see like normal souls and bodies. I would assume, at least not through walls and shit. So,
Okay.
so I think we're gonna go with limited
All right. That sounds good.
and no bonus because I'm already stressing myself, right? So I can't add. And I'm not gonna take your damn devil's bargain. I'm not doing that.
You could push yourself and take 2 additional stress.
Yeah, I have no stress right now. So
You could also take your devil's bargain, and that's up to you. But
or do you think like I don't? Part of me thinks maybe it's not really worth it.
well, it's so if you've got no stress right now, the risk is actually it fits into your favor. It plays in your favor. Somebody like Eclipse who has 6 stress right now may not be the best circumstance for her to do something like that, given that you don't know what you're going to get into, and stress happens to be the bar that fills up more than taking harm in most cases.
Okay, so it's what 2 stress for like 1 extra die.
Yes.
All right, fuck it, I'll do it. Going live. Oh,
All right.
kinda glad I
Before.
did.
Okay. So you succeed again, but with a little bit of consequence. And again, the table is welcome to step up and provide a consequence if they think of something relevant. I can also provide a consequence, but you do succeed. And so when you slip into the ghost field, you see that sort of Avatar bluey kind of a circumstance. When you look through the building, it's difficult at first for you to perceive beyond the established wall of the building, because everything that human, the mortals, people who are alive and ghosts and everything else, everything leaves a residual energy of some kind. And it takes you time to kind of peel that back, those layers, as you dig deeper into look at the layout of the building. And you see the individual that stands at the door or sits next to the door and kind of keeps acts as a gateway or an entry point, person to the doorway. You see the person sitting off to the side who's definitely sitting down and manipulating stuff on something in front. And occasionally you get flashes of that blurred images, and maybe that's like a coin or something else that's kind of flirting through their hands. Farther into the room, you see a couple of individuals who are finding themselves in various states of lounge, as they are in some sort of stupor or drug-induced state. Just kind of splayed out across the room. You don't see much more beyond that as you try to look deeper and deeper and focus in on it. But as you begin to take your gaze down, and I assume that Eclipse shared what she thought the layout of the building was, right? As you begin to look down below, you see a little bit more of of activity, as you see a couple of individuals that are working on something downstairs, and there's furious activity or working or what looks like tinkering of some kind. And one individual stands out down there who looks incredibly different, and it's the person that you saw previously in the ghost field, whose spirit is entwined with something else, right? Sort of like a symbiotic relationship of some kind between these 2 spirits, and that that's the possessed person that you're looking at there. And that's what you get from looking into the ghost field.
Perfect, because I saw my notes saying, "Oh yeah, this person's possessed." I'm like, "Oh shit, that's what I do. I look at that stuff." So I will convey that we have the doorman, the henchman on the other side of the door, a couple more individuals, a few more individuals within the warehouse, but that there's 2 people of note below deck, like in a basement. One of them is the masked vigilante, the person we're looking for. And I'll say that the reason I know this is that I'm able to. So, Johnny, is it common knowledge that people are able to attune to the ghost field, or is that still like mystical, and people don't quite believe that.
Whispers are commonplace.
Okay.
So
I let them know that I'm a whisper.
Right. It would be very common for you to visit a whisper to deal with a rogue spirit in your house, right? When you walk on the streets of Dulskval, it's more than likely that at some point very young in your life, if you're walking around, by the time you're 5 years old, you're going to have a number of experiences with spirits and ghosts. And as you get older, your perception of what that happens, and you'll see more of that intensity. People walk around with spirit bane charms, held in their hands. It's very much in a lot of ways like an Eastern European, God, I'm looking for the right word, but very much just like there's a lot of legend and a lot of like scary stories, right? It's like watching a Frankenstein movie, or it's like watching a movie about gypsies and Dracula from the teens or the 20s and the 30s, right? Very much the Universal Studios sort of horror feeling. It's that type of darkness. It's that type of feeling. So yes, Whisper would be well known as a type of person. They would be common for dealing with those types of situations. The equivalent would be as if knowing a wizard existed in a high fantasy world of some kind.
Okay, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, is it commonplace? Not. So I'd let them know that I ghost gazed. I looked into the ghost field, and I did that the other night. Saw this person is potentially possessed. Should have maybe warned you guys about that before. Worry about that now. They die the same way. They just have two spirits instead of one. But they're here. We're in the right
Maybe
place.
we could charge twice the pay for it. Since we're bringing back two spirits, not one.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
So if he doesn't pay up, he only gets half a person.
I
Which
could
half?
do that.
The legs or the torso?
I think right down the center.
Oh, down the center. Okay, we're gonna House of
Yeah, I was
Blast this
thinking
guy.
that too. Yeah.
Like this way or this way?
This way.
That way. Okay. Hot dog.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's gross. I hope we do that.
I got knives.
Yeah, we'll do that with knives.
All right. So, are we done with the flashback? Was there anything else that you wanted to kind of accomplish with the flashback? Or are we coming back into the moment where the ancestors...
I think we're ready to come back into the moment.
We're
Like
good,
we
yeah.
know that we're in the right spot.
Okay. So, fade back in from the last images of the person that you saw in the background, in the basement, with the possessed spirit, combining kind of a thing. Fading back into the moment where the ancestor steps up to the individual that's sitting down, and without even looking up, the person says, "What's your puzzle?"
Let's see. My goal's gonna I want to try to get into the basement. So, or since we know they're there.
Yeah, I guess our plans could have changed now that because I'm dumb and I didn't think to do that sooner. It could just be that like your goal is to get in there,
Just scout the place around.
scout it real quick, and then we just kind of run in once you're in. Like you throw it as far away from you as you can, the little bomb thing, and that's the signal that we're gonna bust through and stab, slice, slice.
Would none of us think about going through the basement?
I was gonna say, but it could also be that you try to get your way into the basement itself.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe pulling something like, oh, I would like to try to move some product or something, and want to see how much there is, but.
Yeah, we should have had some drugs for us if we're gonna do that kind of route. In my opinion, I don't think you have any assets to help you with that.
Well, to be fair, you just want to get in the door, so...
Yeah, I was gonna
name a
say at
drug
this
and
point
get in
it
the
could
door.
just be we could be doing a thug thing. We're just gonna you get in the door and then right behind you, here we come, and take those two out as fast as we can.
I think let's use the, or do we want to use... I almost think we should hang on to the bomb for now.
Yeah.
Use it maybe if there's a bunch of them downstairs.
I was gonna say we use it downstairs, and then that's like a SWAT team. We throw in the flashbang and then go.
Yeah,
in.
and it seems like getting in here is not going to be that hard. I can easily get the door open again.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe just have a look around real quick, like be like, oh yes, I would like this drug, look around real quick, and then be like, "Oh, I forgot my money. I'll be back."
I forgot your mom.
Yeah, that'll work.
His big sister's holding on to his lunch money.
Sorry, someone beat me up on the way over here. I'll be right back.
Last time you bought fake drugs.
Okay, so what's going on?
He asked me what I want. What's a relatively mild drug? Inexpensive.
There are no relatively minor drugs in Doskull.
Well, you know, I'm assuming there's a drug market. What would be a cheaper drug?
Doesn't quite work like that. You would ask for the specific drug that would accomplish whatever task you would want, and you'd probably be willing to pay for it. The known drugs in the setting, the shared setting right now, are things like lure, which is made from demon's blood and is incredibly hallucinogenic. There is sauce, which is a different set of circumstances that is also very hallucinogenic, but also incredibly toxic. There would be things that appropriate, like heroin or stuff that would really kind of sedate you and give you that euphoric sort of down feeling. There would be things like hash and pot to keep you on kind of mellow without it being an over the top kind of stupor kind of a situation. So it really is a matter of whatever your choice is. What do you ask for?
I've got some trance powder in my inventory. Would that be something that counts as an actual drug?
Trance powder works differently. Go ahead and read the description on it. It's
I
about.
don't have one in here.
There is. So look for a reference in the book. It should be under your slide, right?
Yeah.
There should be a description in the slide playbook area. Essentially, what it boils down to is it allows you to manipulate people for short periods of time.
Oh, okay. It seemed okay.
It makes them more receptive, but there is a reference in the book somewhere for it, and it's associated with the slide playbook.
Okay, let's not worry about that right now then. So I'm just gonna look at the guy and be like, something to calm me down for now. Or when you said, were you meaning like ask for the desired outcome or ask for whatever I want specifically?
He was looking for you. At your response, he would look up at you and say, "What do you want?"
Let's go with some pot.
Okay, so the equivalent of that. So right, you coin exchange hands. He gives you.
Does he just have it all right there, or would he have to go off and get it?
Let me finish narrating it. Let me finish narrating what happens. He pushes you back a little bit as he steps up, and you realize that he's actually a little bit bigger than you, and quite a burly little man. And you see that he's wearing a little tassel tied to his left shoulder that represents what you would assume as him being a red sash. He motions for you to follow him, and he takes you through the room towards a couch where you see that there is a hookah or a water pipe of some kind, right? Some sort of smoking implement. And he says, "Have a seat." And he moves over to the side where he goes into a cabinet, and he opens up the cabinet, and he grabs a jar out of the cabinet, steps back over to you, and begins to fill the bowl of the pipe that you're going to be smoking from.
Oh, okay, sure.
And so he gets you set up to start essentially imbibing or consuming.
Okay. Let's see. Would it be weird for me to ask it for just to take it to go?
No, not at all.
So I'm gonna kind of hold my hand up a little bit and be like, "No, I'm taking this to go."
And he says, "All right." Steps back away from you, taking the jar with him. Appears to do something towards the cabinet in the dark a little bit. Kind of change. You see some hand waving and movement. Comes back over after he replaces the big jar in the cabinet and hands you a small clay jar of something with a cork on top of it. And he says, "Here you go."
Okay, and so as I walked past this way, I'm just sort of like looking for any possible entrances into the basement, just sort of looking around, seeing if I can identify.
You cannot see any entrance to the basement at this point. You see that the warehouse is very much set up in a way that the access to the basement is not. You don't see it, and like it's set up as a drug den. It's set up to look like a big lounge kind of a situation. It's not set up for there to be stairway down. You would know based on Eclipse's description that if there was access in this, it would be towards the back of the from the entrance. Basically, there are two big rooms in this place, right? There's the big back warehouse area, and then there's the much smaller but still quite large, kind of storefront space, right? It would be near that particular that junction between those two rooms where that pathway would be down, given the normal circumstance.
Okay, I'm gonna take note of that location, and I'm gonna look around as I'm walking around, just try to see how many Red Sashes are there, how many just patrons are there, just get a count of people, locations of things.
Okay, so as you're kind of doing that, it's noticed that you're kind of taking in the situation, you're taking the long way out. And when you look around the room, every single individual in this room is a Red Sash.
Okay.
There are no non-Red Sash patrons, essentially. There's about 6 of them in the room in various states of what you perceive as stupor.
Okay. So then I'm just gonna take what I paid for and walk out, just casually.
Okay. So you make your way out. No other words are exchanged. The doors close behind you, and again, you hear a clunk that you would have heard at the beginning. I forgot to mention that there was like a latch of some kind being put into place, and the slide opens up to watch you as you kind of begin to move away. Leave.
Yeah. I just completely walk around the corner so they can no longer see me.
Okay.
And just sort of rejoin the group.
Okay. And plan from there is what?
I look at everyone and just sort of convey that there's quite a few sashes in there right now, not too many.
Are you holding the jar of...
Yeah, I have the jar. That's not uncommon for my character.
I grab it from you and say, oh, you got me a present, bro? Thanks.
Yep. Just sort of hand it off to Fray.
And I put it in my bag.
There's not too many gods. However, all of them are sashes. There's really no patrons in sight right now. And then I just sort of like describe the location of where the entrance to the basement probably would be.
But you
Did you
didn't
get a body
see
count?
Did I get a body count, Johnny? I was trying to get one.
6.
6.
There are 6 individuals in the room, excluding the 2 at the door and the server, essentially. So 8 altogether.
8 altogether. That changes things. We get two for it's a deal. We each get to kill 2 people. So
Yeah, I agree with that one.
yeah.
But I'm thinking we might want to avoid that because you said that this possessed person's downstairs in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did
and
you?
We didn't see any direct things to the basement outside, right? There was no bulkhead. There was nothing like that.
No.
So we'd have to somehow infiltrate.
We'd have to go through the canals.
So
There's a back way in there.
Well, I mean, now that we have the layout, my thoughts are that I can get the door open one more time, and then we just go straight in.
No, but you're missing what Eclipse is saying.
Yeah, there's another way into the basement. I'm thinking that if getting into the basement is difficult from the warehouse level and from the serving area at the front, most of them probably stoned out their gourd as well. We go in through the canal, and we go in that way. We know that backup is going to be much longer to get in there than if she was upstairs. So we can just open the back door, chuck in your grenade, give him half a second, and go in there and, nab her.
That's
That
basically
sounds
what
like a
Wolf
good
was going to
plan.
say.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Give that a shot. I mean,
All right.
there's 8 people upstairs, and if they're all going to be stuck behind, having to try and get you down there, it's going to take them a bit of a while. Let's give it a go. I can get us back to, I don't know, where they'll be going back to with this chick. Are we going to store her at your place in Silk, or are we going to take her straight to Marden?
Ooh, we'd have to use our gondola because I believe I spent an extra coin to bribe them. So we'd have to maybe flashback and make sure we have that planned. We could always take her back to our place and then plan to take her from there. Maybe drop her up.
You can always flashback. That's the reason the mechanic is there. So if something occurs that was unanticipated, you can respond to the consequence.
So Mr. Wolf is much smarter than Rhino is. He probably would have thought, like, we gotta get this guy. We got to get this chick across territories through a blockade, and it was a good idea from Eclipse to bribe the gondola people to get us in and out. Right, that's how we've been traveling in and out.
Yeah, and we bribed him a little bit extra last time to keep him sweet on our side, didn't we? Well, you did, because I ain't got the money.
Well, yeah. So I would assume, if need be, we'd arrange that beforehand, so that way we don't have to worry about retaliation, other than us getting out of this. Well, we're already in Crowsfoot, aren't we?
Yep.
Never mind. So we don't have to. We don't have to leave Crowsfoot. I'm an idiot.
Well, if we're gonna take her straight to Martin.
We don't need the gondola people then, right?
No.
Then never mind. Fuck it. Yeah, we'll just take them straight to Martin or
That's
Marden.
back to the leaky something, isn't it?
Yeah, the leaky bucket.
That's a great name for a pub, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think we'd try to get her out and then back in to the same district.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense. Sorry. So never mind. No need for that flashback.
All right. So, does that mean we're cutting to you guys breaching the downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is.
So talk to me about the plan going in downstairs. So when you get down there and you're looking around, it is essentially a door, a little bit of an arch, essentially inlet, kind of an into the wall, cut part of the cavern, and then there's the door itself that kind of in the place, and there's a little dock off to the side where you essentially can pull up whatever boat that you're in, but there's no like walkways. In some places in the caravan, in the caverns under the city, where the canals actually meet, there are actually little walkways that go alongside the canal. In this particular case, it's just a little dock, and then step up to the door.
I look to Fray real quick and ask her, and I'm like, Fray, give me it's just referred to as pot, right? It has no special name.
What? Say what?
The pot has no special. The marijuana has no special name in this, right? It's just pot.
According to Trindane, who happens to be one of the resident experts on the setting, swooning nettle is the name of the leaf. Is what it's called. Swooning nettle.
So I look at Fray and I'm like, give me the nettle real quick.
I reluctantly hand it over.
You're not going to get eye before the job, are you?
No. No, my thoughts are we can open up the door. I can just sort of be like, since I still have the little red sash ascot on, I can open up the door, get the door open, and be like, hey, look, we need to talk about this.
And substandard crap, and then they open the door, and then you chuck a bomb in instead.
Chuck the bomb in, we're in.
Alright.
Decent enough, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So, I'm assuming that it's the Ancestor stepping up in front.
Yep.
Is anybody going to be behind
just sort
him?
of motion everyone else to stand off to the side since no one else.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll try and stand around the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, you knock.
Yep.
And you don't hear anything immediately.
Okay.
And you're waiting. You don't really hear anything.
I give another impatient knock.
You hear a whisper. Who is it?
I just sort of yell back, we need to talk about this stuff. And I sort of slosh the stuff around in the nettle around in the container so it makes a little sound.
What are you talking about? Who is this? Nobody's supposed to come to this door. It's not scheduled.
Let's see. What is a name I can borrow real quick?
You can come up with a random name if you'd like, or you would know enough about the world that you'd be able to rattle off something. But the person you hear behind the door is definitely not opening it for you based on what you've told them so far.
Okay, so I sort of just rattle off a name. I'm just sort of it's whoever. We need to talk about the nettle. it's. Or I just leave it at we need to talk about the nettle.
Yeah, you're actually Speedy makes a good point. You're looking for Aldo.
Aldo. Okay, we need to talk about the Aldo.
No, Nettle. Your name is Aldo.
Oh,
So-
my name is Aldo. My apologies.
Sorry,
No, I'm
stepping out of stepping out of the scene for just a second. What he's referencing is that for a very short period of time, about 2 episodes, everybody was named Aldo because I kept reaching for names in my head and I just couldn't bring them out. So everybody was Aldo until they stopped being Aldo. So Aldo,
I'm posing as Aldo.
you're posing as Aldo. Aldo, you're not supposed to be back until tomorrow. We're not supposed to get another. What are you talking about?
I'm like, it's bad. We need to talk about this. It's really bad.
Hold on a second. And you hear whispering. And you hear some cursing. Damn it! Bunch of commotion. And then the door begins to open as the latches are kind of unthrown, and the door begins to kind of swing open very slightly, as you can see a head starting to peek out towards you.
I sort of just like put the container of nettle sort of just like up really close to their face, almost trying to just like concern them with just that.
Okay. All right. Get that out. It opens a little bit wider. Get that out of my face. And you see the room. You see a little bit more of the room as it's kind of lamp lit. Kerosene lamps, candles, but very, a little bit brighter than what you saw upstairs, because it's clear that it's a workroom of some kind.
Yeah.
You see 2 other individuals kind of, working over a table in the background and just kind of looking out towards you.
Okay.
And you get a little bit a better picture of the person that's behind the door, and it's more of a short, sort of stocky kind of guy who looks to be ready to serving also as like a protector of some kind or a guard of some kind.
Sure. I want to start sort of like in a motion. I want to like gently but firmly start pushing the door open, like as I'm just going to walk straight in. It's urgent, like with an urgency. And then sort of like slip a hand under my coat and sort of just like prime the bomb. And then if possible, just like if they do let me walk past, like open the door further, I want to like try to open it all the way. And then just like throw the bomb into the room.
So you begin to prime the bomb under your coat as the door begins to open, and as hey, Aldo, get that out of my. And he looks out. Hey, you're not Aldo, and begins to try to throw the door against against you as you're trying to brace yourself.
Okay, then I want to like sort of put my foot in the door to stop it, and then throw the bomb in the room.
Okay, so as we talked about before. There's not going to be a roll related to you actually getting the bomb in, because it is designed to be sort of like a flashbang kind of a thing. But even with your foot caught in the door and the space being sort of off to the side, and there's being almost too little of a space for it to affect you, you are going to have to make some sort of roll of some kind to avoid, being quick about the damage, what have you. So, given this circumstance, I'm not sure what's appropriate here. It could be skirmish. It could be something else. Does anybody have any idea what they think is the appropriate role for an action here?
I guess it wouldn't really be wreck.
Well, he's trying to avoid the damage, right?
Exactly.
Because the consequence that he described was that there's going to be a little bit of shrapnel. Now, the shrapnel may just go into his leg and foot, causing, him a limp or whatever until he gets that fixed, which would be like a level 1 harm. But the circumstance is that he is going to have to avoid it in some way. So skirmish makes sense. Maybe it's a finesse.
Let's just go with finesse. I don't have any points in any of it, so.
I was going to argue finesse.
I have no points in anything prowess based, so.
Okay.
Oh.
It does not matter in the slightest.
Well, so what this means in this particular case is that when you roll something, when you have no pips in it, no action rating whatsoever, you actually roll 2d6, and the character sheet will do this for you, and you'll take the lesser of 2 rolls.
Yep.
So why don't we go ahead and have you go ahead and do that?
All right. Risky, controlled, desperate.
This is a risky situation.
Okay.
The effect is limited. It's basically saving your own skin, in this particular case, your leg. You can push yourself, though, or take a devil's bargain in this particular case in order to give you an additional die. And what that will do is it'll have a different effect. Because you have 0 action rating, but you push yourself or you take an additional die, you will get 1d6 instead of 2d6 taking the lower of the 2. You'll just get 1d6, and the roll, the results of that roll will be determined as normal.
Do I have... So I remember reading something about just resisting damage.
Sure.
Is that a straight stress, or do I roll for that?
Okay, so if you want to just ignore the effects...
So, like, say I just roll and I end up taking the wound.
Right. So no. So yes, if you want to roll and just take or if you want, you can either do one of two things in this particular case. You can continue the roll, and if you fail, then you'll have to resist the damage. And the way the resistance works is instead of rolling an action rating, you'll roll your attribute. And there are 3 attributes on your character sheet that govern the 3 sections of the action rolls, right? Or the actions themselves, right? It's insight, prowess, and resolve. And so you would, instead of rolling, like finesse in this case, you would roll prowess as your resistance, and then you would take 6 stress to resist minus whatever the highest dice roll is in that case. In the case of it being 0 action or 0 rating in prowess, you would actually take the lower of the 2 and probably end up taking more stress.
Okay.
So that would be the way the resistance roll works. Now again, you can try to move out of the way and then deal with the resistance afterward, or you can just take the damage anyways and then resist. It's up to you. I would suggest you take the action roll first.
I'm gonna take the action roll.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. Three.
All right. So no, actually, so right, it's a 3 because it's limited. All right, because it's the lower of the 2. Okay. So you are not able to pull your foot back enough fast enough as the bomb goes off, and so shrapnel starts to dig into your essentially your foot and your leg, and you're going to take level 1 harm that you're probably going to resist. Correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to.
Okay. So when you resist, what happens is instead of taking an actual harm with that, as we talked about, you'll take stress minus whatever you roll. But that means that you reduce the level of harm or take no harm depending upon the level of harm I was going to deal out as the damage. In this particular case, I was going to say that because it was isolated to your foot and leg, and you were going to take level 1 harm, and it was just going to be shrapnel embedded in your leg, which would affect your roll. Since you're going to resist, you're going to take 0 damage, and you're going to take 6 stress minus whatever you end up rolling as the result. Okay. So go ahead and click on the result, or sorry, the prowess one.
Okay.
And then you would just roll that. And again, this is where you would, either push yourself or take some, addition, or take a devil's bargain. To add an additional die to this. My suggestion would be is if you've got the room for stress, take the 2 stress and then resist with 1d6 versus taking the lower of the 2 from having 0 in prowess. Yeah. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the 2 and push myself.
Okay.
And now I'm going to add 1 bonus dice, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. 3.
3. Okay. So you take 3 stress. You resist it with no harm, so you're a little bit more stressed out. You're a little bit more intense. You don't take the damage at all. It all ends up flying into the wall, and now you've got the 2 additional stress from pushing yourself. And now, as it goes off, you look away from the light. You guys all see a flash, lights up the cavern where you're all the little dock is and the canal and everything. Kind of gives you kind of a spooky, shadowy effect a little bit, and you hear a bunch of people just groaning and just really just kind of upset as everybody in that room actually took level 1 harm from getting some shrapnel in them. All right, and so the door begins to swing open as you realize that there's kind of a little bit of smoke, and there's everybody's still reeling from feeling that cacophony of light and sound.
Okay. I want to just throw the door open as wide as I can and just usher to everyone and just rush in.
Okay, so as you all rush in, you see that there's one guy, the guy that was behind the door, kind of keeled over, and he's holding his head for a second, and he's dealing with that. He's dealing with the shock of that. You see the two others have just like sort of fallen off to the side, on each side of the table, and they're kind of reeling a little bit. You get a lay of the room. This looks to be a preparation room of some kind, mostly for receiving shipments and preparing the drugs, whatever the drug is, into some various containers that can be, kind of controlled and held for a long time. And you see a doorway leading beyond that. And there's three of them just kind of just dealing with the shock of that, right? But they're on the ground right now. And there's a bit of commotion behind you, or behind that door that you hear.
So as soon as Johnny, how long does it take to attune to the ghost field? Is that like an instant thing, or does it take like a little bit of a build up?
It really depends on what you're trying to do in the ghost field.
So basically all I'm trying to do is when I look in, once we're in there, I want to be able to immediately, without having to discover if they're male, female, blonde hair, black hair, whatever, be attuned to the ghost field and say, okay, that's the possessed one. That's the one we need.
Okay, so when you attune to the ghost field, go ahead and roll it for me.
Yep.
Position is a little bit risky in this particular case because you don't know what the circumstances is while you're in the ghost field. I think that it's going to be limited to standard, and I can see arguments for both. Because you're focusing and looking for a very specific individual, that would be the limited aspect. You might see something else that's going on with standard. It really depends on how wide you want to set your gaze in that respect.
So I was thinking standard because it's not like I'm looking for details. I'm just looking for, when I look at this room, I know there's going to be some activity. I'm looking for the one that's going to show the possession.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so let's call it standard.
Okay.
And do you want to push yourself and take a doubles bargain?
I'm going to push myself because fuck it. All right. Didn't need to, but
6. Well, pushing yourself still, that it still
it's
has
still
its
good.
advantage. Yeah, absolutely. So you could argue that pushing yourself really comes down to focusing in, focusing in very quickly. Like you really, just kind of like, I need to snap and be right into it, right? Okay. So when you kind of snap into the field, you look around, the three individuals that are on the ground and kind of reeling, and they're starting to regain their senses a little bit. None of these three are the ones that you're looking for. Behind the door, you see, as you kind of focus in more, you see another room, and you see the resonant spectral energy kind of just absorbed into the rest of the walls, and as you kind of focus in, you see into that next room, and you see two individuals in there. One person, you see one essentially alive person who is, helping the other person in that room. They're kind of putting things onto that particular person, and that other person you see is actually the possessed individual with the two spirits. You also begin to hear a little bit of noise coming from upstairs as there appears to be some stamping going around on the floor above.
Yep. So Mr. Wolf would start barking out orders a little bit, saying, and he might point to like Ancestor, like, you run to the door up there, like the one where people would come in from downstairs, and see if there's a door jam to I'm sure there's some sort of lock or something to stop intruders. And I'd say to Fray, maybe I don't know, Eclipse skills in combat or something like this. But basically, I tell them, look, the person we're looking for is behind that door. There's another person in there with them. But we also have, 3 individuals in this room we need to take care of?
That's correct. Like, they're starting to recover from that little bomb that you guys set off that kind of shocked them, right?
Okay.
Is it a door, or is it like the hatch? Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Does it look like something I could pick with a lock if it's locked?
It is definitely something that you could pick if it was locked.
Obviously, we don't know that yet, but I was just...
You don't know that, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So...
I'm going to take the opportunity to go ahead and run up and try to see if I can lock the upstairs door, and if not, just brace myself against it, or find some way to jam the lock or something.
Okay, so all you see is the door. It was only Wolf that saw beyond that door into the next room where he saw the stairs, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. The stairs. Are
Oh,
in the
that's
next
in.
floor.
Okay,
Sorry,
so it's
I
the
thought that was in
same.
this room.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted that. Okay, so never mind. We need to kill these guys real quick, get to that next room. Okay, or incapacitate these guys however we can.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you guys doing?
I immediately pull out my knife, run up to the first guy I see, do that like thing that Black Widow does where she like jumps on their back and like stabs the guy.
Okay,
Beautiful.
so they're incapacitated. You jump on the back of the first guy, and where do you plunge the bait? Are you trying to kill him, or are you trying to injure him?
Oh, I'm trying to kill him. I go like straight into the back of the skull.
Okay, you jump on, knees down, right? You do like almost like a superhero landing, kind of on his back.
Yeah.
Blade goes into the back of the skull. He's dead. All right. One life begins to expend. Mr. Wolf, as you know, when somebody dies, that begins the process of the spirit actually rising from the body. I'm just reminding you because of that. I'm reminding you that because other whispers have not taken that necessarily into, it being an important circumstance the first time it happens. Just letting you know. Also, you're a murderer, so
Yeah.
you would be acutely aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Shit. Like how instant is that? Is it like it's gonna take a little while, or is it like minutes, hours, minutes, days?
We have established in the other shows that it takes about 24 hours for the body and the spirit to fully release. What typically happens, and you would also know this given the fact that that you're essentially a serial killer, and then Fray would also know this because in the past she has murdered. The moment somebody dies, the bells ring at the crematorium in Charter Hall where the spirit wardens are. And the spirit wardens begin to look for the dead body, because what they need to do is they need to come and claim the body in order to dissolve the body, absorb the spirit, and use it for whatever means that they choose to. What helps them do that is the Death Seeker crows. When the bell starts to ring, the crows hear it, and the crows begin to circle, looking for death. So you know that you only have a limited amount of time before the spirit wardens arrive, and when the spirit wardens arrive, it's a whole nother level of like badass circumstance. Like it's a real consequence to the situation.
Shit. I think we already have a plan on Spash grabbing and getting out, so I think right now that's not Wolf's major concern. He understands the implications, but maybe right now we got to at least get our hands on the target.
Okay, so there's one dead body, right? I mean, there's one person dead right now.
Yeah, he might say, "Don't kill him, knock him out instead." For now.
Well, if they're coming, they're coming.
And despite hearing Mr. Wolf sort of be like knock them out, the Ancestor follows in what Fray did, sort of like pulls out this almost like small but ceremonial looking dagger and goes up to another guy and sort of stabs him in the small of the neck, like just sort of like on the back towards the spinal area, and just finishes him off.
All right, so you do the same, taking the second one out. Again, Wolf, this just like, all right.
What's one more body?
Right, and so you've got the third one left, and you begin to hear the door begin to kind of, jiggle open a little bit as standing next to you, and you hear that the stomping has begun to move in that general direction, as if towards the stairs.
So did I take out that third person?
Yes.
Okay.
That person goes down, and they're dead. Door begins
I will be bolting it towards wherever the hell he pointed out the possessed dude is going to be. Sorry, chick.
Possessed chick. So
yeah.
as you're about to as you're moving forward, heading towards the door, it opens, and stepping through it is a dressed in black figure, hood, some sort of cloth mask over the face. This is the person that you tracked here, and behind her you see somebody else beginning to pull their sword.
How close am I to these people?
You are probably within 5 feet of the door at this point.
Shit. Cool. crap. I didn't want to be this close to them already. Is there anything in this room right near the door, like to hand nearby?
There are probably containers. I mean, this is the room where they take the drugs that are delivered in, the bigger containers and move them into the smaller containers for, long-term storage or for safekeeping or keeping them dry, that kind of a thing.
Cool.
Right. So there would be like pottery and that kind of a thing. Anything that would help keep them dry.
Awesome. I grab a nearby pot if it's liftable, like not too massive.
Okay.
And I chuck it at the person drawing their blade and yell, catch. And then I want to throw my blade at them. So they're like, oh crap. And then boom. Because it's natural action, so it comes towards you, use to catch it. So that's what I'm trying to invoke in this deed.
So you're doing this as the person dressed in black is beginning to move through the door. So you're not aiming for that person.
Oh, is it?
That person.
For
you're
the
aiming
person
for the person
behind them, yeah.
Okay. All right. So how are you going to roll this? Because I'm very curious. Because this is not a straight up, like wreck or like a skirmish. This is.
I would like to suggest that this is a finesse move.
All right.
This is going to take some sort of skill to lob it, because I didn't realise they were in the doorway. But I'm committed to it now. I'm doing it. I'm trying to throw it over a person to a person behind them, and I'm trying to make them catch it. So I think there would have to be some sort of finesse.
Okay. So, as that, let's have you roll this finesse roll. We're going to call the position risky.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's desperate because you're not in a situation where
I'm not imminently about to die.
You're not imminently about to die, but there is an element of failure here that's inherent into what you're trying to do because it's a 1-2 kind of a thing. Now, effect seems to me to be almost standard because it could be a distraction to the person that's stepping through the door if you do it successfully. Right? It's not just affecting one person, it's affecting multiple people in different ways.
Yeah, I guess the person in the door also probably thinks I'm throwing it at them, probably at their head level, because I would have to get it arcing about above and past their head. So I guess, yes, standard. I was going to go limited, but okay. I'll take that argument.
No, I mean, if you think it's limited, I'm happy to go with limited, but it's only going to affect that one person. There's an opportunity for it to affect multiple people here is my thought process behind it.
No, I hadn't considered that, so I'm okay with standard. Yeah. Does anyone have any other reasoning?
All right. Now, a bonus dice. Do you want to push yourself, or do you want to take a devil's bargain?
I do only have 3 stress left.
You could take a devil's bargain, or you could just let it roll as it goes.
No, I'll let it roll.
All right. Go for it. 5. That's not bad. So there will be a consequence, and I'll leave it up to the table as to what you guys want to do for a consequence. But you throw that, and what does it look like? Like, where are you aiming on this person? Are you just trying to clip them? Or are you trying to distract them and just maybe have it fly past them? But when you throw this clay jar at them, what does it look like?
So as she's running towards the door and sees it open, she grabs it as she passes and just literally like chest pasting it. So she'll bump it so it just goes past what's the dude in black or chick in black and just flies. I cannot aim it sort of like top chest head level, like between here and here.
Okay.
Just so that they're either instantly going to put their hands up to protect their face, or it's going to knock them in the face, or it just sails past enough for them to go, whoa! So that's kind of what I was envisioning.
Okay. So it flies past them, and the blade, where is the blade specifically aimed at?
The blade would be just sort of like aimed pretty much in the same general area, but probably a bit further down if I can get it to arc.
Okay, and so where are you specific? But with that arc, where are you aiming? Are you aiming for the chest, or are you aiming for?
Aiming for the chest.
Okay.
Just like the torso area, because if it ducks down too far, it's more likely to graze down the bottom. If it goes slightly too high, then there's a small chance it will hit the head. So, should always go for a chest shot.
Okay, so distraction. Distraction comes out. Blade comes in, goes squarely into the chest. Person in black kind of looks at what happens just for a second and looks back at you and begins to move towards you. Fray, this is your opportunity. She is going to this person in black is going to attack Eclipse. You're in perfect position to kind of jump in and take it. or Mr. Wolf is, I don't think Ancestor is in a situation that he can make the attack because I think
I can't
positioning
kill this person, right? We're taking this person back to the.
Can I give her a good poof of trance powder to the face?
No, you're far enough back that it would affect more people.
Okay.
So you could I mean that's your question to the party. That's a good question. Why don't you guys go ahead and deal with that?
If I'm the only person in range, I'll take it.
No. I'm Fray asked a question about whether you can kill this person or not.
No, I realized that I couldn't. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was trying to think of what to do. I guess I'm gonna run up and like try to hit this person so hard that I knock them out. Can I use my special skill?
What special skill is that?
Not to be trifled with. It says that I can perform a feat of physical force that verges on superhuman. So
Okay.
I want to hit them so hard that they're knocked out.
Sure. Mechanically, does it say what kind of a benefit or if it's an automatic success? I can't remember the one time that...
It just says you can push yourself to do one of the following. Perform a superhuman feat of physical force that verges on or attack a small gang.
Okay, so we're definitely going to have you make a roll of some kind here. And then depending upon its success, or I'm going to have you... Actually, here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to have you describe exactly how you're going to hit her. Is it just you're going to jump up and pounce her, or are you going to clock her in the face?
I want to like jump up. Basically, are they near a wall?
Yeah. Well, she's in a doorway right now and beginning to move out of that doorway towards Eclipse, who just threw a dagger past her and it nailed the person right in the chest.
So I want to like. I'm guessing I'm like angled, like at an angle to them. I want to like run up at them and like basically kind of jump on them, grab their like head and like hit it against a wall to knock them out.
Okay. So is that a skirmish? Is that a prowl? From an action roll perspective, what is that?
I'm gonna go with skirmish.
Okay. So go ahead and do that. The circumstance here reeks of risky or desperate, and here's the arguments in my head, and then I'll let you guys help make that decision on this. It's risky because this is a person of equal skill, or potentially better than Fray, but this person has the jump on Eclipse in making this attack. So if this fails, there's an element of bad things could happen. The point that it's desperate is this person may be out for blood in killing Eclipse because this person just watched you kill somebody else. So what does the table think?
I'd probably go with desperate.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel kind of desperate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you are literally jumping on someone who is potentially better than you.
Yeah,
you are literally jumping on them,
and they're potentially going to kill you too.
Yeah,
it's way more reactive. It's not like you planned for this too.
Yeah, you're not taking calculated risk. You're like, whoa, get him.
Right.
That's why I'd argue desperate.
All right, I'm gonna go with desperate then.
Okay, so with a desperate roll, just real quickly, when talking about XP, there's a little spot on your XP sheet where anytime you roll a desperate roll, you actually take an XP in the attribute that action is associated with. The reason I'm raising it is it's a good habit to, when you take a desperate roll, just go ahead and tick one of those elements on that particular action sheet, that part of the sheet for the XP. Okay, so it's a desperate roll. What is the effect here, guys? What are we talking about? Is this limited, or is this standard, or is it potentially great?
So what exactly is she doing, though?
She's trying to knock the person out, right?
Yeah.
So it's limited to one person. It could have the effect that it incapacitates her, just her solely. It could have an effect of morale on anybody that's running down the stairs, right? That's a circumstance that could play out. Or it could be, something as great as there's some in that action, there's some element that's revealed, or some other consequence that's revealed about this circumstance or this particular person, right? So I'm putting it back onto the table only because I want folks to kind of think about this, because this is a significant circumstance. This is your target essentially.
Seems pretty significant though.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that mean we're saying it's standard or great?
I think we're saying it's pretty great, right?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'd argue great, because you're essentially doing your superhuman feat of knocking a person out with a single hit by smashing their head into a wall after having jumped on them. And if there is other people coming down, they're going to walk down and see that this crazy woman had jumped on a dude and smashed his head into a wall.
Yeah.
You do not look like you want to be fucked with, so I'd probably say that would be pretty gay.
Okay, great. So, position is desperate. Effect is great. Do you want to push yourself or take an additional, or take a devil's bargain?
I'll push myself.
Okay, so you're going to take 2 additional stress, and you're going to get an additional die.
Okay.
And then roll it. Wow. Okay. RNG is not your friend, but you still succeed. So, when you punch this particular person, when you knock them into the wall, how do you land with this particular person? Because you are going to knock them out. Like, you push them into the wall, and what happens?
I guess I almost push them into the wall, and then I use the force against the wall to try to bounce back off and land on my feet, and they just kind of flop to the ground.
Okay. All right. So now you're on top of this individual, and you've got them penned, and you realize that they are completely knocked out. Right? They are just not responding whatsoever. So you have control of that situation. But as a circumstance, as a result of that, there is a little bit of consequence, because it's a 4. You hear a yell come from the other room as somebody comes to the bottom of the stairs. Clearly somebody who's wearing a red sash, and there's a scream for more help, right? So they're starting to come through towards your direction. You've got about 10 feet from the stairway to they've got 10 feet from the stairway to the door itself that Fray just knocked this individual from. What do you guys want to do?
Oh man, I think Wolf. Shit. So this might be too metagamey. The Shroud is they're a known crew now operating in Crowsfoot.
No, they're not known by name. So
shit. Okay, fuck. Never mind.
Okay, so while you're thinking that way, while you're thinking about that, guys, we're gonna take a real quick second, and we're gonna say goodbye to Harley or Sam. She's gotta go off and she's got a previous scheduling thing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna narratively explain what happens to her and the person that she's just knocked out. But we're gonna say goodbye to her for right now. So thanks Sam. We'll see you a little bit later, I guess.
Yeah. Bye.
Boy, boy.
Bye.
Okay. So, I gotta find a picture to actually throw into that spot eventually. Anyways, all right, so guys, you were thinking of something. What were you thinking there, Rhino? I mean, what were you gonna do?
For this guy, I was gonna knock him out and say the Shroud sends her regards. I was gonna do a little Walter Fray thing there.
Okay.
But if it doesn't sound like I would know that seems like that's super underground, not just normal underground. So so both Phantom and Shroud names aren't really known right now. You could say, regards. But I thought they were gaining turf in this area though, so I wasn't sure.
They are gaining
with
turf.
Gaining turf, do you gain reputation as well?
You do gain reputation, but if you don't use your name, it's very hard for people to track you down. You could say something like the Lamp Blacks, Lamp Blacks send their regards, or the Crows send their regards, right? Thus reigniting even more conflict in the gang war that is going on in Crowsfoot.
Right. Well, the thing about the Crows is that's exactly where we're going right now, or at least somebody's trying to get back in with the Crows or take it back over. So, So who all is at war right now? Is it a war right now? I assume it is, considering
it's open. It is. There is definitely open conflict when they can. But remember, the circumstances of Crowsfoot are, it's very much locked down because of the martial law. So, conflicts happen, but they're more in subtler ways. It's like I'm gonna take out your business, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna do that, versus open fighting on the street right now because of all of the Imperial soldiers and all of the bluecoats that are on the street.
Okay. So who are the players in the fights right now? Is it Lamplax,
the Crows, the
Lamprax,
and the Red Sashes?
Okay. I'll say Lamplax because fuck them.
Okay.
We'll try to push the heat towards them.
Okay, so you're gonna essentially mention that, but you're in a circumstance where there's a bunch of them starting to come in your direction through the door. What are you gonna do about that?
Shit, I don't know. It's either fight them or we can't run with this person. So, what are you guys' thoughts, Ancestor and Eclipse?
Well,
I have more ectoplasm, right? I don't know. I know that kind of fucks with shit a lot, so I don't know if I could think of something to use with that.
I mean, this is a perfect opportunity for either a flashback. So Fray in her circumstance has basically knocked out your query. You've got control of the situation for a moment, right? I'll make suggestions for you guys just to kind of give you some insight in what you could possibly do. You could close and lock the door, or bar the door.
That was
right?
exactly what I was about to say.
As well, like, can we?
I was just going to lock it. Yeah.
Okay, so you close and lock the door, and immediately you hear some screams as the door kind of latches. And you hear a slam against the door as people are already starting to try to push against the door. What are you guys doing?
So maybe we could do a flashback like I was trying before with our gondola buddies, and we have some sort of pickup in the canals that ushers us away. That way we're not carrying a limp body and having to deal with the the slowdown that causes. Maybe we have something like that. Okay,
so you're going to flashback. All right. So why don't you describe the flashback? Are you going to take it, or is somebody else going to take it? Because it's all about this. Who takes the stress?
I can take it. I'm only at 4 stress.
Okay,
I can take it, and it also makes sense because I'm the guy with
the money.
The money, and I bribed the guy before, so I feel like I already have the in. It seems like it's like hey, more money. All you have to do is take us point A to point B within the same district. So that way I try to persuade them hey, we're not even crossing blockades here. We're just going within the district. Just need some discretion.
Okay, so does that mean... Sorry, I've got a phone going off in the background. I need to silence those. So does that mean that you have... God, sorry. Totally lost the train of thought there. Does that mean that when you made that arrangement and you had them, was there a specific signal? Were you just going to have them show up at a particular time? Were they going to meet you?
I was going to say we'd probably have them show up at right around the time we started. That way we know worst case scenario, if we're super efficient, we're in, out, and can get to their spot.
Okay, fair enough. So that's going to be 1 stress. Okay. Flashback, because it's a complicated setup, but it's not a completely stressful life or death situation that you're saving yourself from. And so at the appointed time, you have a gondolier ready to essentially cart you off with your query, and you're still hearing the slamming against the door, and you realize that somebody is trying to use a tool and starting to hit the door a little bit. Is there anything else you want to do as you're trying to extract yourself from this particular room?
You said there were workbenches and tables and stuff in there?
I'm sorry. There are tables and chairs, and there's containers of drugs and that kind of a thing, and containers specifically for helping keep the drugs dry in that area. But there's not much else there. There's a lot of drugs basically.
Probably move some tables up against the door. I assume that it's from them. It's a push on their side, or is it push from our side?
Yeah, doors should open into the room. So,
well, in this particular case, I think this one, in my mind, opened from the room that you're currently in, into the room, essentially that was where the stairway is. So they're pushing to kind of open the door, to break the door down. They don't care about the fact whether they're not trying to unlock it. They're trying to use brute force to break it.
Yeah, so in that case, if I put a table against it, that would help to slow them down a little.
A tiny bit, yes.
Cool, because there's nothing else to do apart from pick up the unconscious chick, and I'm pretty sure that we have some pretty beefier people in here than probably Eclipse. So she'll probably be doing what she can just to wedge stuff against the door.
Mr. Wolf's middle-aged. I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure he can get me out with some table and a chairs, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, he can help with that, but as far as, like, picking up the body...
Can't move this table.
Arthritis.
Oh,
I didn't take my
back.
Advil. I gotta ice this later. Oh, makes dad noises.
Okay, so, Fray begins to kind of move the body, kind of puts it over her shoulder, and begins to move towards the stairway, the exit towards where the dock is, as Eclipse kind of moves stuff in. Mr. Wolf, Ancestor, what are you guys doing while this is going on?
So right now we're kind of barricading our ways in. She's moving. I might even just start destroying drugs, make it look like we're trying to send a message here.
I'm gonna start taking drugs.
If we have, yeah, and you might start taking some. So yes, literally a smash and grab. We're gonna smash some things, and they're gonna grab some things. I'm
gonna start hoarding as many drugs as I can possibly fit, throwing them into Fray's bag, throwing them under my jacket, wherever I can.
Okay, so
wow, you guys are so useful right now.
Yeah, what will happen is we'll figure that out. You'll just say that you're grabbing that stuff now, and then we'll figure out the breakdown or whatever that actually means. And so Mr.
I guess
Wolf
if Eclipse is struggling, I guess I'll help her. But,
No, mate, you go and get those soft, squishy drugs, mate. I've got this.
I won't be. I'm all over the drugs. Sorry.
It's all right. I think she has this. And if you go to move after, I guess you better go out. She won't take your help.
Okay.
Insulted her honor.
All right. So, just as you begin to as you're kind of grabbing and kind of putting things in place, that's when the axe head begins to kind of smash through the door as it's first kind of into through the door, as you can see the blade, and it's like a fireman's axe kind of a thing, right? Somebody's just trying to smash through and get through to you as you make your way out to the gondola boat. Are you guys escaping, and where are you escaping to?
Yeah, I'd say we're escaping, and we'd probably, depending on how good these, I don't know if it's canals and how covered we are, how we can, if we can slip away not so much silently, but it's gonna be hard to not track us. I don't know if we want to go straight to the leaky bucket, or if we want to go somewhere else and then try to make our way to the leaky bucket.
I just need a narrative description, because I'm assuming that because this is a pretty successful end to the score for you at this point.
Okay.
Because I don't think that, to me, narratively, I don't think they're going to be able to follow you.
Okay. Okay, that's exactly what I was looking for. How likely could they follow us, considering there's only 6 of them? They're all trying to break in.
Well,
we're on a boat on a canal.
Yeah.
You're in a boat on a canal under the city in the caverns.
Okay, so we are in the caverns. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So you would be able to escape as long as you're careful, right? So I'm assuming that you, as a part of the flashback, when you arranged with the gondolier, you took some precautions to make sure that your escape route would be, significant and easy for you.
Yeah, then yes. Then yes, we escape and we do it discreetly.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to call that the end of the score. Congratulations, guys. Got through your first score. It was a snatch and grab job. Pretty successful at this point. Now, here's what happens at the end of a score. We go from the score frame of gameplay into what's called downtime. And downtime has a couple of phases. There's 4 altogether. We saw a little bit of that at the beginning of last episode. But this is the first time we're going to do a full one. And I suspect, given it's the fact that it's 7:30 here, 10:30, and 3:30 respectively at the various places where we are around the world, we're only going to get started, and we'll probably start with downtime beginning of the next session next week, the next show. So we'll start with the first phase of downtime, which is called payoff. Now, payoff is when you get coin, and you get reputation, or you get rep, and those are the positives that come off from your score. So there are a couple of different things that factor into the amount of coin you get. And when we talk about coin is essentially the representation of a certain amount of wealth. It's kind of vague in that it's like a bag of silver, or maybe it's a bag of gold or whatever, but it's a value that represents a good amount of cash. Is this a minor job? Is this a standard job? Or sorry, is this a minor job? Is it a small job? Is it a standard score? Is it a big score? Or is it a major score? And the when I describe them just from a narrative sense, in your mind, how big are those? From an intrinsic value, like from a value in coin, it goes from 2 to 10 respectively. So from 2 coin to 10 coin, from minor all the way up to major score. So what does this represent to you guys? What do you guys think?
So I don't think it's like we did a very huge thing. I think what we did was a very quick job. It didn't really require all that much prep. So I would assume this is like a small job. I forget. Is it in the book where that scale is?
So it's in the book.
See the options.
So it's in the book, and it's also in the rules reference on what's called the Blade Sheets PDF. And you guys can find that linked in the Discord as well. If you guys need to find it. But in the book, and I'll give you the exact page number where it is. It's in downtime section, and it is page 154 in the PDF and 146 in the actual book. And you'll see a bullet list of descriptions there, right? To me, small job makes a lot of sense. It's for coin, so it's a reasonable sized score, but it's not like you guys did something amazingly gigantic, right? You essentially you did a snatch and grab. You successfully got out of a Red Sashes drug den without too much damage, right?
Right.
And you did some cool things like, lobbing a grenade, lobbing a grenade in and then lobbing a dagger into somebody and then knocking somebody out with one punch kind of a situation. So, all right. So that's 4. Now, here comes the rep. Rep is a similar circumstance, right? A crew starts off with 2 rep from any given score. And then there are a number of factors that play into it. Tier of the rep, or tier of the any particular faction that you're taking on. In this particular circumstance, I believe the Red Sashes, and I'm double checking my ultimate final faction breakdown list, but I believe they are tier 2 now. Sashes are. Let me double check that. Yes, they are still tier 2. So that means that you guys are tier 0 as a crew. Tier 2 means that they're 2 levels higher than you guys are, so that's an additional 2 rep that goes to you.
Okay, so we get plus 2 rep.
So that's 4 reps so far. Hold on, there's a couple other factors that go into this, right? So on top of that, things like blah, 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 Sky Hoarder tier, blah blah blah. No, actually, I was wrong. That makes a lot of sense. So only in this particular case, the tiers are only being controlled by the amount of between the difference in the faction. Let's talk about heat. So that's payoff. You guys got 4 rep and 4 coin for your activities. Now let's talk about heat. Heat represents the amount of awareness on the street or among thieves, among the villains of Dosefall. Represents the amount of awareness that's going on. The how much is known about your circumstance, whether it's directly about what your crew, or indirectly, I think I saw this guy doing this kind of a thing, right? And so there is a scale as well that starts from 0 to 6 heat, and the scale goes in increments of 2, and it's smooth and quiet, contained, loud and chaotic, and wild. To me, this seems like a contained circumstance, right? It's contained only to this location. It's contained only into the essentially the underground, and probably there was no exposure on the street. But you did do something against the Red Sashes, and there was the gondoliers involved. So that sounds like you're going to get 2 heat specifically for that. Now there are some modifiers that come along with that, right? So additional 1 heat for a high profile or well connected target. I don't think you were intending to take on the Sashes, so I don't think that really counts. You guys really haven't established whether you're dealing with hostile turf or not, or that you have hostile intent against the Red Sashes, but it was a hostile target. Again, essentially the martial law. So I think you guys deserve an additional 1 heat for that. So that's 3 heat so far. And there's an automatic 2 heat if any killing was involved whatsoever. So you guys killed a couple people, so that ultimately means that you get 5 heat altogether. Now, where heat comes into play, just like with payoff, there's an intrinsic value that you can use with coin and spend it in different ways, and the same with rep. With heat, where it becomes important is what you deal with the next section of downtime, which is entanglements, which are little things that come into play into the game at various times that could affect you. The way that we played it originally was we'd roll entanglements, and then I'd read you guys, and then you guys would tell me how you wanted to respond to it. The way we've been doing it in Season 2 is now we roll it, but I don't tell you, and it just comes into play later on. So given the fact that you guys have 5 heat right now, and you have a 0 wanted level, you're going to roll we're going to roll dice based on your wanted level. So like with anything else, because you have a wanted level of 0, we're going to roll 2d6, and then we're going to take the lower of the 2 as the result of what's going to happen. So I'm going to do a GM roll privately to do that, and then that will determine the results of what you guys are going to face later on. And note that because you have 4 to 5 heat, you're facing the middle table that's listed in the book. So 2d6, and all right, excellent. Good to know. Okay, so that'll come into play. And now we're going to talk about downtime activities, downtime actions. This is where you get to take steps and actually start to extend long-term projects like you guys did before. Or you get to train, or you get to heal, or do that kind of a thing. Given the fact that we've only got a short amount of time, we're probably only going to get to one person's downtime actions, and we're probably only going to get to one action of those, the 2 default actions that you get. If Mike and Volanda don't mind, I'd actually like to hand it off to Patrick and let him take a shot at doing downtime for the first time. So, the Ancestor, what would you like to do for your first downtime action?
I want to indulge my vice first off, because I actually got quite a bit of stress from everything.
Okay.
I'm sitting at 7.
Okay. So if you look at your character sheet, you will see in the section where it says stress and harm, there's a little button that says indulge vice.
Ah, yeah, there it is.
Okay. So with that, oh wow, I'm repeated on screen. Let's fix that. So I guess my name is Sam now. Moving that, guys. Sorry about that. When you roll that, it'll build your dice pool automatically. You don't get any additional dice at this point to add to your dice pool. So depending upon what it rolls, it will either be a positive dice, or it might be a circumstance where you have 0 dice and it's going to roll, and you're going to take the lesser of the 2. And so it'll tell you when we roll how much stress you actually are reduced from. Mm-hmm. Right? So go ahead and indulge that, and then I'm going to ask you to describe narratively what it is that you do to indulge your vice.
Okay. Would it have any bonus dice, or is it just 0?
Not in this particular case, no.
Okay.
All right. So you take the lower of the 2 results.
So 1.
So you reduce your stress by 1. So you now have 6 instead of 7. What do you do when you indulge your vice?
So I part of the reason why my character is named the Ancestor is because he actually prays to a god known as the Ancestor to him, and adopted the name as his own. So my character's vice is actually worshipping and praising and sort of just losing himself in the voices from the god per se.
Okay.
So I would sort of go off. I sort of have an abandoned church I like to go to. So my character would basically just find time to go off and go to one and just spend his time.
Can you talk to me a little?
Worshiping to that.
Okay. Can you talk to me about this abandoned church a little bit? I'm kind of curious because there might be a narrative suggestion I have for you, depending upon how you describe this.
As of right now, it's just sort of one that I like to frequent. I don't really have any specific placement or meaning to it as of right now.
Okay, I'm going to make a suggestion that you frequent a particular abandoned church in Six Towers, which is it used to be the old noble district before Brightstone became really that kind of became the current prominent noble family circumstance where wealth is represented. It's one of the older districts, and it is currently under construction to be restored. But it happens to be a place that you like to frequent on occasion. That was represented by the older gods.
Okay.
And so that is, I'll talk to you a little bit more about it off screen, but yeah, there is, it's a nice little, abandoned circumstance in Six Towers.
Sure.
Okay. So that's your first, indulging of your vice. I would almost suggest, given that you have, or that's your first downtime action, I would almost suggest, since you have 6 left, that you might want to indulge again.
I'm gonna indulge again. I wanted to do other stuff, but I'm very dangerously close to some trauma, so.
Right, and trauma is bad, especially for early on for a character. So please, go ahead and indulge again.
Still 0 bonus?
Yes.
Okay. Oh boy, another 1.
Wow, you are just not making your connection with your gods.
The Ancestor is just not hearing it today.
What is it? So from a narrative perspective, what is it about the revelry or the praying? What happens when you don't hear your god? What does it feel like for him?
Like when my character doesn't hear from his god.
Yeah, when he doesn't experience the feeling of the feeling of being in the light of, or being in the presence of, or what does it do to him? Because there's probably a narrative reason why you're not really able to relieve your own your stress, essentially.
The Ancestor, being my character, really starts to become a little bit hopeless. His interactions with the god are very grounding, empowering.
Okay.
So he really starts to feel like a little more weakened, like of the mind.
Okay, so it's really kind of it's demotivating for him in a lot of ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right, excellent. Well, cool. Now you can spend. You've done two downtime actions. You get those by default.
Yeah.
You can spend one of the crew coins, since I don't think your character has any coin at this point, right?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Or you can spend 1 crew rep and get yourself an additional action and start a 3rd downtime action, if you want.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Fair enough. So awesome. You tried to do that and it just didn't work out. I'm very curious to see how that plays out for you during the next game. Why don't we step over to Volanda real quickly and see if there is a downtime action that you want to take to start out.
Yep. She's going to go indulge her vice, for sure.
All right. Excellent. So go ahead and do that. And then tell me what's actually happening when you're indulging your vice.
Well, she's going to start off by trying to find her friend Fray, her positive contact. the guy who's the locksmith, because he's her occasional like fuck buddy.
Okay.
So she's basically just going to walk in there and flip the sign to closed and be like, yep, you, me right now. So that's kind of what she's doing.
Okay. All right.
Do you really need any more details?
No, I don't. I wanted you to
Excellent.
set the circumstance. You were more than welcome to be as detailed as you want, but I'm good.
Cool.
And go ahead and roll it.
Assume there's no bonus dice.
Nope.
Cool. 1. Wow.
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 Yet again, with the terrible RNG right now. Okay, so how much stress do you have after that?
I have 5. So
wow.
I'm obviously not feeling that itch has been scratched. I'm gonna
revel in the flesh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pay for it this time.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to the red lamp.
Okay.
And just like throw coins at people. Have sex with me, please.
Okay. So go ahead and roll again.
That's better.
Much better. And since you have, if you had any dice in that particular pool, and you had gotten that 6, you would have overindulged, which would have been really interesting given the device that you've chosen. But so you lose 4 stress in this particular case. So now you're down to 1. And spinning the coin really did make the effect for you. So those are your 2 downtime actions. Do you want to push yourself, or sorry, do you want to spend an additional coin, or take spend a rep to get into 3rd one and potentially start something or continue something?
Yeah, can I spend a coin to continue one of my long-term projects?
Sure.
I'll do
Which
that.
one do you want to do that?
I want to go find that weird Frankenstein doctor dude.
Okay, let me pull up that in Roll20 on the... I think I did that correctly. Did that come up for you guys? Nope, that's not it. I forgot to add that to... I need to fix that. I've got a note. I've got a note for it. I'll take care of it. All right, so your progress on that one was...
2 out of 8.
I believe 2 so far, right?
Yeah.
And what were the last... you were going to go after a physiker by the name of Elias. Is that correct?
Yep, Elias Tommen.
Okay. All right. So how do you want to continue with that then?
The last information I got was that he was somewhere in Crow's Feet.
Okay.
So, being that I've probably used... I think I used that connection last time. I would probably start in some of the more divey brothels.
Okay.
And try and like down the streets where like the proper dive awful places that you don't want to be are. There will be some. I'm hoping that there will be some like back alley doctor who does the sort of things that she would normally go to them for. So she's essentially just going to start going down there and asking like for the various physicers, like if they've heard of this guy, if they know where I could get hold of him. So she'll start like a door-to-door search of all the appropriate places down like the various streets of Dive.
Okay. Excellent. And so from an action perspective, what does that mean that you're going to roll?
Consort, maybe?
Okay. That works.
I could have gone hunt, but I don't think that really fits. Nah, I think consort's better. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And so there, again, with a downtime action like this, there's there is no position or effect, and it's just a straight up roll unless you want to push yourself or take a devil's bargaining action in addition to that.
I've just got my stress back, so I'm going to push myself.
Okay, sounds good.
Such a bad idea.
Okay, so 5, not bad. So that means that you progress the clock for 2. Doing a little bit of consorting and kind of manning around, you find out that by day, Elias, right? That's his name. Elias Tommen spends a lot of time working at a hospital in Charter Hall, but at night he divides his time among a number of different drug dens to deal with overdose situations. And so you know of a particular drug den that he will end up at the end of the night, and it happens to be run by the Crows in a part of their territory. And eventually you are able to get in contact with him at this particular location, thus providing you with an opportunity to build that connection or do what have you, to lead you on this path to figuring out what you need to figure out in respect to this long-term project. So you'll have an opportunity to ask him questions in free play. Essentially, what we'll do is when we get through downtime action next week, you and I will talk a little bit off screen about what you want to accomplish with it, and then we'll role play a little bit of a conversation between you and Elias Toman as to what the result of that's going to be. So you've progressed 4 slots through that particular through this 8 slot or this 8 segment clock. So excellent. And with that, do you want to do any other downtime actions? Push or
No,
you don't? Okay.
I think I'm probably good enough.
Okay, great. So guys, we're going to call that the end there, since you guys are in the middle of downtime right now, and we'll get to you, Mr. Wolf, next week. We'll get to Fray next week as well, since she's off doing her other thing, and then we're just going to call that the end of the session. So I just want to say, first off, great second show tonight, guys. Congratulations on completing your first score. That's a significant deal, right? It's a lot of fun to play the mechanics and do the rolling and thing, but at the end of the day, score is essentially the core component of the game, that it represents the action, all of the action and adventure aspects. So really awesome job. Sorry, Ancestor, that you didn't get to really indulge your vice very well, but I think it has to do with your name. I think you need to choose a new god, and his name is Steam, and you can watch him tomorrow night.
Don't worry, Mr. Wolf has a god for him to follow as well.
As I've shown, you just need to pay for it. You'll be fine.
Exactly. I just want to say, since we're at a point where I can break, I want to say thank you to On the Forefront for the raid that you guys just sent our direction. Really appreciate it. I'll go through the other raids and follows real quick after the fact, as we get through this. But so with that, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out to you guys, and we're going to do outros, and then I'm going to do a quick business for the channel, and then we're going to get out of here and we're going to raid somebody. So why don't we go ahead and throw it to Volanda first? Why don't you go ahead and plug yourself? Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry.
After the
Is she indulging her
conversation that consult that. You can find me on Twitter at blood_BTP, and you can find me on various channels doing various things and in various podcasts doing various things. The easiest way to keep up with me is through Twitter. I also have a Twitch channel which I do on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and that's bloodthirsty_puppets. Short and sweet.
Awesome. You also do stuff with Skagith, right?
Yes, I do. I literally, an hour before this, I have just finished off with Skag on a Tuesday, and I'm on his baddest. The baddest Bardborn is this Saturday. Tune into Skagith's channel because it's going to be hilarious. It's just a game full of bards. It's all you need to know.
So I'm actually going to ask you about that offside. Somebody I was playing with in real life, she organized a game of just bards, but it was 4th edition. Because bards are so complex in 4th edition. So I'm kind of curious how that's running for you in 5th edition. All right, awesome. We're going to send it over to Patrick. Patrick, go ahead and introduce or say goodbye to everybody. That's it.
Hey there. I do nothing but this. You should check everyone else out.
Well, no, that's not true. You also hang out on Ginger's channel. Talk about that.
Go check out Xmas Ginger Ninja. I'm usually on her stream quite a bit.
Okay.
Link her instead of me.
I'll also make sure that goes into chat as well. All right. We saw more interesting aspects of your character tonight, the social aspect, and then the failed god status. So I'm very curious to hear more about your god at some point. And just for your reference, from a metagame perspective, the church that I sent you to, the abandoned church, actually happens to be the top side of the layer of the shroud.
Nice.
So
Nice.
they will be aware
As
of
soon
you
as you
and
said
somehow,
6 towers, I'm like, oh, this son of a bitch.
yeah,
Oh.
I it's both good and bad. Okay.
That's amazing.
All right, so, and over to Mr. Rhino.
So yeah, I'm Rhino, the anonymous Rhino. I'm from Unmade Gaming. I believe that's where tomorrow night's played
That is.
game is. So checks out 8 p.m. Eastern. Unmade Gaming, all one word. I just do art stuff over there. I'm playing Mr. Wolf. He has some weird shit going on. Hopefully, we'll see that with my downtime activity in Vice Indulgence. Yeah.
Interesting.
Next time.
You weren't on any of the shows right now? Because there's the Thursday night show, right? Aren't you on that
Oh
one?
yeah, we have a Thursday night show, but I didn't want to take away from Blades because I know there's also Speedy's Thursday night show. So
Please, it's one big community, so just
you're gonna be watching Critical Role anyway. So
Oh,
fuck
burn.
you, buddy. Fuck you.
Burn.
That is a burn. All right. Like I said again, guys, great night tonight. Really good stepping up. I'll make sure to shout out Sam in chat just so you guys can follow her if you want to. She's a cosplayer. She's also getting her own streaming thing started. And as for me, I am Johnny. This is the Video Store Cowboy channel. I'm also the GM for 6 and 20, which is a collaborative thing that is happening between 3 channels. Myself, Unmade Gaming channel, and the NotSoSpeedRuns channel. Tonight you saw the Tuesday crew. Hopefully they will finalize on their name and we can call them by their actual name next week. Wednesday night is the Shroud, and that happens at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Thursday night is on NotSoSpeedRuns, and that is Phantom. All great shows, all great groups. And I'm putting a bunch of information in chat about that right now. It's the bot command. You can find the links for both Speedy's channel and for Mike's channel for Unmade Gaming, and go follow them as well if you want to keep up with what was going on. So I want to first say thank you to everybody. The future ancestors is what Trindane says, Patrick. I think that you should talk to him about that. Okay, so real quickly, I want to do a couple things channel-wise real quick, and then we'll get out of here. I want to say a big thank you to Skagath for the bits tonight. I want to say a big thank you to Crit Dice Gaming for the host, NotSoSpeedRuns for the host. On the Forefront just hosted us as we were closing down, so thank you guys. For whatever reason, the filters are not updating right now, and I'm not seeing everything that everybody did. We had a couple follows tonight, so I want to thank you everybody who followed. If you were a sub to the channel, I made this announcement at the beginning. I'm going to post the link in chat for the end, or for the channel as well. But so if you were a sub to the channel, I've just set up GameWisp. You can go over to GameWisp and the link in chat, claim your tier, and there's a couple of things going on for subscribers over there. I will be working on a couple of emotes. I believe we suggested tonight that Mushu and Pig should be emotes. Is that the plan?
Send me the pictures. I'll do it.
All right, well, you and I will coordinate with Sam to get that going. So we'll do that. We'll probably put those emotes available for everybody, and then hopefully emotes will be coming for the channel very shortly. I'm in conversation with an artist right now about that. Other than that, occasionally do variety streaming. Would like to get to that more. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody who stopped by tonight to watch. I want to say thank you for Unmade for trying to host us. I'm going to talk to him after this to kind of figure out what was going on and why he can't host us. And with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to raid some friends of the channel. A couple of folks who run a gaming channel out of Sacramento, California, called Time to Tabletop. They're currently doing some D&D. So just go ahead and tell them that you're coming from the Video Store Cowboy channel. I haven't got my raid command set up yet, guys. But I appreciate you kind of going over and checking it out, and give them a follow if you really like stuff. They do a live setup. They're all in the same room. They do D&D. They do Blades in the Dark on Wednesday nights, and they do board games, I believe, on Thursday and Friday nights. So give them a shout out and check it out. So I'm posting their link in chat, and then I'll also host. So with all of that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who stopped by tonight, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye. And... oh, hold on.